Today is the 20th anniversary of Supernatural's first episode, and this is a monumental moment for a lot of people. I've spoken to people who watched the show when it first began, and the fact that it's been 20 years now is just insane. And it's rare for a show to have this much cultural relevance still today, and to be 20 years old at that. But this show means so much to me, and so much to all of you. It's brought me this channel, this ability to talk about what I love and share it with so many people. It's a creative outlet, and it's a way to explore media literacy, and more importantly, it's a way for me to share the love of this show. A show that's gotten me through a lot of tough times, and one that's taught me so much about not only the theme that it provides, but also media and how to explore it in general. But more importantly, it's brought me all of you. I love reading comments, sharing our favorite moments, and allowing you to see the show through my point of view, as well as seeing it through yours, through, again, reading your comments. So today, to celebrate 20 years of Supernatural, we're going through every episode of the show, from the pilot to the series finale, and we're going to give a review and discuss every episode, as well as each season at the end. Welcome to the finale of Winchester Week, and happy birthday, Supernatural. Easily one of the best pilots of a show that I've ever seen. Even putting aside the massive, and I don't mean that lightly, fan that I am of the show, I just feel like this episode does everything a pilot should do, and it's no wonder that it went on for 15 seasons. The characters are all laid out in such a way that we get the dynamic between Sam and Dean from the jump. There's very few questions, but there is a desire to see more. The writing is snappy, the shots are beautiful. I love the cinematography of season 1 so much. Truly a breakthrough pilot and such a great start to the show. You know, this one actually starts fairly well. There's nice intrigue to it, and I think it's actually cool to see them interview the one survivor of the Wendigo attacks. It's just a shame that it never lives up to that and becomes pretty uninteresting. The setting sucks, the characters are just fine, and the monster isn't as interesting as I'd like. Shame the episode is literally called Wendigo, especially when they spend so long hiding what the monster is. You can hear me talk more about it in a video on my channel just about it. This one's always a really fun one. It's a little long in the tooth toward the end, and I think the actual reveal of the ghost is a little hokey. I actually would have preferred a crazy water monster. But the characters in this one are fantastic. It's like everything Wendigo wasn't with its character moments. Dean's dynamic with Lucas is awesome, and the climax really works because of the dynamic he has with that kid. One of my favorite episodes of season 1. It's almost a lot higher, but I think the opening 15 or so minutes aren't the most memorable thing, unfortunately. The climax is so terrific though. Basically, once they learn that it's a demon onward, it's just such a great time, and I love how the vibe immediately shifts once you realize what it is. The climax too, on the plane, is so bonkers for episode 5 of a CW show. Genuinely one of the most explosive finales I think we've had in an episode like this. They honestly don't get better than this. It's such a badass third act. Kind of ballsy to tackle something as prolific as Bloody Mary, but it's really cool. It's the first episode since the pilot to really handle these urban legends, unless you count the Wendigo, but I don't really. I like how the show was able to handle a lot of folklore and stuff at the start. I think it's really cool. I've always enjoyed this one. I love the conflict of Sam and Dean being wanted by the law so early, and the shapeshifter scenes are so gnarly. It's just an overall banger episode that gives us a really cool new monster in the form of the shapeshifter, as well as some really good character work for Sam. Hey, this is a fun one. It's the first episode where they salt and burn a corpse, I think, so I like seeing how physically draining it is for Dean to do it, seeing how he has to literally dig up a body. There's a lot of twists in the episode too. I like the Hookman, I think it being a ghost is cool. It's another urban legend episode, and I really enjoyed it. Nothing special, but pretty fun. This is far from a terrible episode, and it doesn't deserve the reputation that it gets as one of the worst of the show, but it's also not very good at all. The writing is really undercooked here, and I get the attempts to parallel Sam and Dean with the kid, but it feels hokey because Dean doesn't have a stand-in. There's not two brothers and a dad, it's one kid and a dad, and having Dean be the stand-in for their dad is weird. And the climax is easily the worst climax that we've had in an episode so far. Yeah, this episode is fantastic. It might genuinely be one of the strongest of the entire show. I love the opening scene with Sam and Dean. Jensen fucking killed it. I love his scene where he calls John at the end of the episode too. I know Jensen ends the show as the stronger actor, but I do think Jared was better in the first season, and it feels like this is the first episode where Jensen really gets to hone in on what makes Dean work. There's a novelty to this episode that I always appreciated, even if the episode never really felt as strong as I wanted it to. The Sam and Dean dynamic has loads of potential, and they capitalize on it well enough, but unfortunately I think it's underserved by the Ellicott stuff, the main part of the episode just not being that good. I love Sam's scene with the therapist, but I almost wish it was a bigger part of the episode. Don't get me wrong, I think it's smart that we don't actually see his entire conversation with the therapist, but I don't know, I think it ended up feeling a little underdeveloped. The setting of the asylum is cool, the side characters are neat, and the drama is solid, but all three components never fully click for me. This one's actually really funny because at the end of the day, Sam and Dean are arguing about whether or not the show should focus on the main plot or do more wacky one-offs. And wacky one-offs win. It's a great episode though. I love the conflict between the brothers, especially coming off the last episode, and I think it's easily the core of the entire episode. I do wish the main plot had a bit more time to cook. It starts really well and I love the idea of it, and the town has a lot of character itself, but I think the characters themselves are a little underbaked. The townspeople also were very bad at acting, and it really undersold the ending of the episode. It's a really solid time though. It's one of the more memorable of the early seasons, and I really like the Scarecrow as a visual force. This is one of the best episodes of not only season 1, but the first 5 seasons in general. There's terrific character writing for both Sam and Dean, and it's such a great moral conundrum here. The characters have to work through so much to understand what cost it has saving Dean. I also have to mention how gorgeous the episode is. Very well might be the best shot and colored one of the entire show. It's so muted and depressing, but in such a pretty way that really sells the entire vibe the episode has going for it. I'm not sure if I've ever given this episode a real and honest fair shake. The first time I watched the show, I actually skipped this one because I heard it was so bad. And then on a rewatch I did back in 2019, I sort of let it wash over me. But now, I think it's pretty good. There's definitely some issues. The editing when the mayor died was really bad, but all in all, I think it's surprisingly solid. I actually really love the scene where Cassie's mom reveals what happened because they actually show it in a really cool flashback. They clearly established that ghosts can possess objects way back in the pilot, so I don't think there was an issue that it's a ghost truck. And if the ghost being racist was a problem, the guy was alive in the 60s, you know? There are issues for sure. The episode is a little slow at times and Cassie isn't very well developed, but I think that it works at the end of the day. One thing I really liked about season 1 is how creeped out Dean is about Sam's visions and dreams. Jensen plays it so well that you can tell how much he does not like it. He's still his brother and he loves him, but he hunts things that do this and it disrupts the natural order that he has sold himself on. Humans don't have powers, so why does Sam? Couple this with the main plot of the episode with Max and I think it just works so well. Great episode that furthers the Sam's power plot. One of the most iconic episodes of season 1, and it's always such a fun time. I really like how it grounds itself, developing the humans as villains, and once the humans come into the frame, they're a lot less scary and they get dispatched super easily, but I love the tension and the twist a lot, and the side character Cop Woman is a really fun addition. This is a great episode. Now that I think about it, I think this might be the very first episode of the show that isn't structured like a procedural episode. It very much feels like plot focused from the start, even if there is a monster in the form of those shadow demons or Meg. The episode is still wholly dependent on the season's overarching storyline to work. Even an episode like Home, the most plot relevant episode so far, it's still structured like a haunted house episode. This one feels different, and I think that's really cool. I like seeing Meg back, seeing their dad back is cool as well, but I don't really like that he just goes away at the end of it. I feel like it makes the episode feel a little bit more stunted and useless than it otherwise could have. Great time though, it's really fun. This is honestly an all-timer right here. It literally has everything that makes a great Monster of the Week episode. Great one-off characters, a memorable monster, fun twists. I love the Ghostfacers in this episode. It's such a great debut for them. And whoever decided Sam and Dean should have a prank war in the middle of an episode deserves a raise. This is an absolute highlight of season 1. I absolutely love it. This one's always fun for me. I really like the Striga, and the flashbacks are cool. They can sometimes run the risk of feeling a little hokey, but I enjoy them this time, and I think it's a really cool idea to have Sam and Dean revisit a case that their father never solved. Yeah, this one's solid. I kind of always remember this episode as the last final breath of the format before the season really enters its endgame, and it kind of feels like it too. It's definitely not bad. I wouldn't even say it's mid. It's actively fun at times. But the show at this point needs to start paving a path forward for the finale, so I'm glad they do that in the next episode. I love aspects of this episode a lot. Sarah is a great character. I love the little mini heist in the weird hotel room scene with funky music cracks me up. But honestly, I just wish the main plot was a bit better. It's a bit too twisty-turny, and the painting getting burned doesn't work, so they burned the old man's bones, but then it doesn't work, and just on and on and on. A good twist is the core of a solid Monster of the Week episode, but sometimes they really feel like twist upon twist upon twist, and it just gets tiring. This one's straight heat, man. Oh, wow. The vampires are never cool in this show, but that's not what you're here for. You're here for that brotherly angst and that sweet, sweet scene where Dean stands up to John. Fantastic character stuff this episode. I loved it. And the vampires are a little cool, okay? And the introduction of the cult is awesome. Season 1 has already had plenty of standout episodes, but it's always these last two where the show fully transforms. They show all their cards, and Supernatural won't take the plunge into becoming genre-defining TV until a little closer to Season 4, but this is when the show fully jumps from good to really, really great. The character writing is terrific. Sam, Dean, and John are so realized by this point, and it feels like an escalation and ramping up so well. I love Meg as an antagonist, and I think the way she's goading John into giving her the gun is so great. Not to mention the scene where Sam and Dean rescue the woman and her baby from Azazel is really cool. This is such an awesome finale for the season. Even if it doesn't feel like the season resolved that much, it's still really good. The scene where they exorcise Meg is genuinely harrowing and probably one of the scariest scenes of the entire show. It's filled with this quiet dread and sadness, and the following events are just as awesome. I love the raid on the apartments to save their dad, and then the scene in the cabin at the end where Dean finds out that it's not their dad because he's proud of him. Man, that's just so good. It's just a fantastic episode and probably the best of Season 1's plot focus group. Supernatural's debut season is an often overlooked part of the show. It's typically ranked in the middle of the pack when looking at all 15 of them, and that makes sense. I mean, there are 15 of these things. But when you peel back the curtain and look at Season 1 of the show, I think it's remarkable how good and consistent it is. The show had to start somewhere, and where it starts is in the land of fantastic horror procedurals. There might not be much main plot here, and it might go on the back burner for a while before coming back, and there's some weak episodes, but at the end of the day, it's super compelling, and you cannot have the rest of the show without starting here. Fantastic framework. One of the coolest episodes of the show, hands down. It's such a baller way to open the season, but I love it. At times it honestly feels like a better finale to Season 1 than what we got, but I still can't get over how cool it is to have Dean meet a Reaper. The stuff with Dean in the Veil is so compelling, and I love how this episode concludes with the John and Azazel scene. Azazel is one of my favorites in the show as a villain, and this episode is 90% of the reason. He's just so damn fun. Heartbreaking, fun, new lore reveals. All of these reasons make this episode a top episode of the show so far. This has always been a really confusingly structured episode to me. Not that it's bad in any way, I actually quite like it, but it spends the first 20 or so minutes building on a premise and introducing new concepts, and once we get into the Monster of the Week, it's like speedrunning a one-off episode. It's a cool format, but I think it leads to the monster itself feeling rushed. It's like they wanted to make a twist, but with so little time, the blind dude was never a massive twist monster like they wanted him to be. One thing I've always loved is how they open up the world in Season 2. Seeing the Roadhouse was always cool, but getting hunters like Gordon makes it even cooler. There's a universe beyond Sam and Dean, and it's one of the coolest aspects of the show in general. There's great character stuff in this episode too, and I love how it highlights the differences in Sam and Dean, and then the fact that Dean sides with Sam at the end is great stuff anyways. This one bugs me because I love everything to do with the main plot. I love the inciting incident. I love the concept. It's the first zombie episode of the show. How can I not enjoy it? It's really cool and well done, and I think the climax is great too. So then, what bugs me? Well, the character stuff. This stuff is usually what the show really gets right. The conflict between Sam and Dean has bugged me all season. I get it, Dean's not processing John's death. It makes sense, but in this episode it's taken to such a silly extreme. Sam has the line where he says Dean is spiraling, but Dean is just acting normal. It genuinely feels like Sam is crazy and projecting. The characters are out of sync with the narrative, and I don't like it. Awesome episode, man. I love the psychic kid stuff every time I watch this show. It's so compelling seeing Sam wrestle with the potential of him going down a dark path. After all, it's kind of hard to stay convinced you're good when everyone that's like you goes bad. Couple that with Dean desperately ignoring and avoiding any evidence that Sam might have something wrong with him, and I think it's really cool. This one's solid. I always like the concept of ghosts, and I think that hunting a serial killer's ghost is really, really cool and a novel concept, but the episode loses me a bit in its structure. It's just not super interesting in what actually happens, and I think the character work for Joe is cool, but the twist at the end that John got Joe's dad killed was a little hokey. I love getting to this episode every damn time, dude. It's such a fun one with a unique concept and idea, and I love the way it plays with the format, following up on Season 1, Episode 6 in such a cool way. This is just another chapter in the multi-season long Sam and Dean criminal storyline, and I love it every time. Even aside from the fantastic setup that this episode has for the season finale here, this episode is really, really fun. I think the new lore with Hellhounds and the Crossroad Demons is great. A lot of great character beats too. It's actually insane how much of a drastic improvement Season 2 is over Season 1. I still really like Season 1, but a lot of the episodes so far have just been such a delight with some top tier Monster of the Week episodes in this entire show. This episode takes the concept of the Roanoke mystery and converts it into supernatural, and I love that. The virus is cool, I love that it's a mini zombie movie, and the character stuff is the best it's been. Gordon is such a cool villain. The season's really cool at how serialized it already is compared to Season 1. These opening 10 episodes are extremely tied together, and you always feel like they're one step behind the Yellow-Eyed Demon, or at least there's something moving. And with Gordon deciding he's going to hunt Sam now because he's some demonic entity that needs to be stopped is really, really cool. Ava is a really fun character, and I like the Sam and Dean drama a good bit. It's overall just a really solid episode. There might be some pacing issues and dialogue from other characters that keep it back, but I had a really fun time. References to The Shining in this one are pretty cool, but I don't know. This episode never really did much for me. The setting is neat, but I just don't care too much. It's a fine time. I already talked about this on my channel, but Night Shifter is so good, man. I already mentioned it, but I love Sam and Dean's Fugitives plotline so much, and this episode elevates it to incredible new heights with the FBI being called in. This episode is just so cool. It's cool even before that. Ronald's an awesome character. Agent Hendrickson's great. The ending is fantastic. One of my all-time favorites. There's a lot of good character work in this episode. It's sort of like a sequel to last season's Faith in that it develops the characters' ideological and religious beliefs in a really cool way. The main plot isn't as good as Faith, but it's still very fun and unique, and I think it's really cool to make it so that the angel is actually a ghost of a religious figure trying to carry out vengeance. If I had any major issue with it, it's that despite the character work being really solid, there are a few times where I think Sam and Dean are a little overridden in their beliefs. Dean is just a little too pushy that it cannot be an angel, and I'm sorry, but I don't buy Sam Winchester just deciding to trust any old angel. It's a great time. Jared plays a really solid villain here. But I've never loved this one. It's got solid stuff in it, but it just feels like an enjoyable enough episode when I watch it. I think the climax is actually a little lame, and the story kind of feels like it really just hinges on the misdirection where you think Sam has genuinely gone evil. It's a solid time, but it's a weaker Season 2 episode. It probably plays a lot better when you don't know what's going on. What is there to say, man? Tall Tales is great. You already know this one's fantastic. The Trickster is such a terrific character. I love the way the episode is told, and it's just so damn funny, man. Kind of like episode 14, it's a cool twist, but unfortunately when you know the twist, the episode itself isn't all that special. It's a lot of whacking around in the woods, and then we get the big reveal, and the big reveal is good, but yeah, just a little wash. Not terrible, but just there. Weakest episode of season 2 for me. Man, the first werewolf episode is such a heartbreaking episode. Madison and Sam's dynamic is so good, and the way her and Sam grow so close is so well done, and then the ending is just cataclysmically sad. Hollywood Babylon's always been really fun. The movie set vibe is great. I love the side characters. Not too much to say overall, but it's just such an entertaining time. There's a scene in this episode I really like where Dean is talking to someone that he shares a cell with named Tiny. It's such a nice and intimate scene, and Tiny is then slaughtered by a ghost. Rest in peace, Tiny. Great to see Hendrickson back too. I love everything that has to do with inside the prison. I think it's such a fun setting for a one-off episode. Alternate universe episodes like this always tug at me, especially when done right, and I think this one was really great. It transforms into such an emotional episode by the end, and the final scene with Sam and Dean just hits so hard. This is easily one of the most pivotal episodes for Dean's character and leads him on the path that he's on from now until the end of season 5. Wonderful character episode, and wonderful episode. This is a really solid part 1 to the finale, but you can start to see the seams and the main storyline going on right now and the consequences from holding off on it so long. Have you noticed that the past several episodes I've been talking about are all one-offs? Yeah, I did too. You could tell the writers decided to drop the current plotline, and I think the new psychic characters are cool, especially Jake, but I feel like the twist with Ava just kind of sucked. It's a strong episode when it really gets into it, and I like the idea of a psychic children Hunger Games, and it was also cool to see Azazel show up and shed light on what's going on, but, you know, there's some issues with it, and it really feels like a big retcon trying to get things back on track. And of course, the ending is incredible. I love Sam's death. One of the coolest finales of the entire show. It's such a wonderful finale to not only season 2, but the first 2 seasons as a whole. This is the final chapter of the Azazel conflict, and the past 44 episodes has all led to here. I like Dean's demon deal a lot. I love how it's set up all the way back with the first Crossroads demon episode. I like how the episode echoes a tons of themes throughout the season. Dean started the season saying what's dead should stay dead, and now he's selling his soul to resurrect his brother. This is such a great episode. If I had any flaws, I think Jake is not a very good final villain, and I think the climax, while really, really cool, really stretched the budget of the show. Some of these effects look super cheesy. It's a great event that happens in the show's mythos, but man, the execution is a little lacking. There's some terrible green screening here. Supernatural Season 2 is perhaps the best second season that a show can have. It's leaner, meaner, and knows exactly when to punch you right in the jaw with everything it has to offer. It does everything a sequel should, improve upon the original in every facet. The main plot might be the only thing that's worse from Season 1. It's just not paced well at all. They sort of ignore it for too long, and then the finale has to do too much work to get it back where it needs to be. But overall, it's great. It's got better Monster of the Week episodes, better character moments, and is easily a major improvement over Season 1. It's really interesting how this is basically the only premiere of the show that I can recall that isn't a big plot episode. Like, don't get me wrong, it's still pretty major fallout of the prior finale, but it feels like a one-off case. It's kind of cool. I do think the sins were wasted though. The season has an issue with never having a clear and concise villain for a while, and I think the 7 deadly sins would have done well to serve that role. I always forget how heavy the integration of the season storyline was in these early episodes. Sam's entire role in this episode is relegated to talking to Ruby about the upcoming plot of the show. As for the main plot, it's pretty fun. Ben is such an entertaining character, and I like Dean and Lisa's dynamic. I always wonder if they had intended to bring Cassie back in some way, because it was always odd how they just throw in another woman that Dean really liked and loved, especially knowing how big of a role that she gets later on in the show. There's a lot of really funny moments in this episode, but my absolute favorite has to be the last one. Dean's walking out of the graveyard going, "We're up $46,000" before realizing he's lost all the scratchers. Perfect. The rabbit's foot is an incredible plot device, and the entire episode is just so fun. One of the best one-offs in the early years, and it's iconic for a reason. This episode always sits in such a confused spot for me. It's got some interesting ideas, but I don't know if they ever coalesce into anything really compelling. The town they're in isn't interesting, Richie isn't interesting, the dialogue with Casey isn't interesting either. They're really going for some big demons are better than humans vibe, which could be a cool concept, but it's not well done at all. The most joy I got out of it was the scenes with Dean and Casey with the lore drops. First they mentioned Lucifer for the first time, which was cool, and Azazel finally gets named, but those are essentially glup shitto moments in an episode that so badly wants to be profound. Also, Bobby just shows up out of nowhere in the climax. It's so dorky. It's probably the worst episode of the entire show up until this point. I don't even like how they fixed the cult. I think it's dumb how you can just make new bullets. This should be such a fun episode, but the writing just isn't there for it. There's too many logic leaps and so many moments that feel way too conveniently written. There's emotional cores in it, but they don't work either. It's not bad at all, but it's so wholly uninteresting and a waste of a genuinely cool concept. Sam killing the Crossroads demon was alright, I guess. I just wish it was put in an actual important episode. This might be the first instance of a curse that will befall Supernatural a lot in its later seasons, and that is the curse of the funny but substanceless episode. You see, in the later seasons of Supernatural, the show swaps its horror vibes from Monster of the Week episodes for comedic and wacky vibes, and I think it works for the most part, but at least to some episodes that feel undercooked and pointless, even if they're fairly funny. The ghost ship is underbaked, the threat never feels real or important, and there's a few too many jokes about Sam being sexually harassed by an old woman. Not a terrible episode, and definitely a fun one, but not a good one. Now this is way more like it, man. Season 3 is far from a bad season, but man, if episodes 4 through 6 don't always feel like such a drag. It's interesting because the show has had weak episodes before, but they've never had 3 in a row that are that weak. This episode finally reorients things and makes everything feel a bit better and stronger going forward. Gordon was such a great antagonist, and I really like how he's still hunting Sam. I just wish he could have stuck around a little longer because, again, the show trades out a compelling antagonist for just nothing. The show has no real pulse right now as far as the main story. Another really fun episode. The holiday vibes are great, I adore the character work, and I think it does a lot for Sam and Dean's relationship. I talked about this in another video on my channel a few Christmases ago, so go check that out. The show has definitely recentered itself, and I love how the second half of the season goes insanely hard from here on out. Yep, Season 3's finally stopped waffling in this episode and really pushes the needle forward. While the main plot with the witches isn't the most exciting thing, I do still enjoy it, and what I really like this episode for is Ruby's interactions, finally shedding light on the demon war. And it's really frustrating how the season hasn't had much plot until Astaroth shows up here. She was a compelling villain for the episode, and I love how we finally get the first mention of Lilith. Look, I get it, the writers didn't know this was only going to be 16 episodes, but the pacing has still been kind of a mess, and holding off any semblance of a villain until episode 9 of 16 doesn't work. It may have worked better for 9 of 22, but even still then, I mentioned the killing of Gordon and the Crossroads demon and the sins, it's just felt janky. This is a fantastic episode, man. I love the character work it does for Bobby, and on top of that, it's just a hilarious episode. Sam's dreams kill me every time. I think the villain could have been a bit stronger, but Jeremy was far from a bad villain, just a tad underwritten. Dean's dream is the perfect pivot for the show to make right here. Seeing him want to be with Lisa is perfect. It's a fantastic character moment for Dean, and it really changes him from here on out. Really fun episode. Dream hopping is always a highlight for me, and I really like good character work. One of the best of the entire show, everyone agrees upon it, but if I had one thing that keeps it from being a perfect episode, it's that I don't care too much for the final 10 or so minutes. I think everything after Dean dies the final time is pretty corny. Sam acting robotic was really silly, and there's even a shot of him hyper-focusing on making his bed super neat, and it took me out of the episode. The whole thing is such a fantastic episode aside from that, and I don't dislike the final chunk. It's just a step down in an otherwise perfect time loop episode. Now this is a fucking demon war. This one rules. I love Agent Henriksen coming back, and they finally reveal to him that demons are real, and it's so awesome. The entire episode is one huge climax, and it finally feels like the stakes of the season are locked in. I'm glad it wasn't the finale, but it's also a little disappointing at the same time. It's such a huge reset of the season's scopes and stakes, and ultimately the season doesn't end up capitalizing on it that much in later episodes. It's a funny gag episode, but that's all it is, a gag episode. It's funny how much Sam and Dean swear in this one though. Almost makes me wish the show was on HBO or some shit. It's kind of funny seeing Dean say fuck, especially when it's censored by a little goofy skull. This is a really solid episode. I always forget about this one because it kind of annoyed me how the final stretch of the season is pretty focused on one-offs, but this one's really great. Dean's at his wit's end and he's willing to accept anything to survive, and I think it's really cool. This one's a lot better than I remember. It has a decent amount of plot stuff inside it with Bella and Dean, and it's honestly a really strong lead into the finale. I get people being upset at Bella's death, and it's a little underdeveloped, but I love it as a parallel to Dean's character. I think if any character is a victim of the shortened season, it would be her though. Still, I wish this episode was all plot. The Doc Benton stuff is fine and even cool, but they could have taken this time to develop Bella in her final episode. This is one of the best finales of the show, but it could be even better. I think the major issue with it is that they didn't have the emotional impact it needed. I'd have liked to see a few more failed attempts to save Dean's soul. Still, what's here is already amazing, and I love the setting of the episode. The intimacy is so great, and the scene with Sam and Dean singing Bon Jovi at the end is so good. Probably the best finale of the show up until now, but they've all been really, really good. It's a shortened but fairly powerful season. The first half wobbles, but the second half punches back pretty hard. Justin Bellow, Mystery Spot, and No Rest for the Wicked are some of the classics of early Supernatural. If the pacing had been tighter and the villains better introduced, this could have rivaled season 2. I just really wish it had a stronger villain, but it's ultimately a transition season to move into that good. Oh yeah, it's time for season 4. This is the greatest episode of Supernatural up until this point. I do not think there is any contest. It's hard to exactly pinpoint what changed, but there is a change. The show is leaner, meaner, and way more serious in its execution, while still maintaining what makes Supernatural such a great show up until this point. The show's mythology explodes open in this episode. The return of Dean is handled with such care, and I love the mystery surrounding it. It delivers some of my favorite episodes of TV going forward. Castiel's introduction is iconic, and this is just such a brilliant episode. Great way to kick off such a great season. Supernatural really is just such a changed show from these first couple episodes. It's so much bigger in scope and scale, and it's no longer a little horror show. Instead, it's transformed into this gigantic and mythological story with two brothers at the heart of it. They set up the apocalypse here, and it literally feels like the weight of the world has just spilled onto their laps. I love how ballsy it is to essentially just start a season episode right here. The actual witnesses that rise being returning ghosts like Ronald and Henriksen is so cool. All of them are fantastic characters to bring back, and they have such really sad and tragic deaths. And the last scene with Castiel and Dean, oh man, this show is so good. This is such a cool episode. I love the causal loop here, and I love the show's respect for its own continuity. Like how Dean doesn't actually use a single bullet of the Colt because it was predetermined to have a specific amount of ammo left when it first appeared in season 1. Season 4 opens so strong. I love seeing Azazel back. It's just an all-around iconic episode. Way better than I remember. I think the main plot with the Rougarou is pretty solid. I especially like the climax. I do wish the show knew how to do better parallels with its characters, because every time the show tries to parallel Sam and Dean, they always lay it on way too thick. This one's fun. I like the mystery and the story, but I do wish they went a bit further with the black and white. Sorta just feels like a filter instead of factoring lighting and set designing to work with it. But the shapeshifter story is cool enough. Not great, probably the first episode of season 4 to feel like it could have come in an earlier season, but it's still entertaining. This is a really fun episode. It's got some pacing issues and it's a little long in the tooth at times, but there's a lot of really fun moments in it. And I like how it examines Dean, and Jensen's performance is really, really good. It's hilariously funny too. This is such an awesome episode. The season starts running into an issue of not knowing where to go, I think, and so it pivots so hard with this episode. It's not that the past few were bad in any conceivable way, but they started to run into the issue later seasons will, where Sam and Dean mention the current threat but then go on a hunt because there's no leads. This one restructures the season and introduces such a fun concept, which is that at any point in the season, one of the Monsters of the Week episodes could be one of the 66 seals. I love seeing Castiel and Uriel show up and how big and grand the entire plot turns. I don't know, it's really, really cool. I also love Sam using his powers to destroy Sam Hain and Dean watching. It's a pivotal episode for all the characters involved. Look, this one's got a suicidal teddy bear. Of course it's awesome. Real talk though, this is one of the more underrated, wacky supernatural episodes. And a sea of tall tales, mystery spot, and changing channels, I think this one gets overlooked, but it's really, really good. Fun fact, while this isn't the first episode of the show I ever saw, it's the first one I ever saw a glimpse of. I first saw it when I walked into the living room and saw my parents watching this episode. It honestly gives you the complete wrong idea of what the show is when the first thing you see is a demon talking about Dean being in hell and Sam using mind powers to fight demons. This episode's really solid though. It's a little too flashback heavy for me, and I think the structure and pacing aren't the best. I really feel like it pivots halfway through and decides that it just wants to be a flashback episode instead of properly pacing it, but it's still really solid. One of the best instances of this show being about two brothers caught in the middle of a cosmic war. This shit rocked. There's a lot of great character moments with Dean here, and the climax is really, really good. I love seeing the skirmish between Uriel and Cass and Alistair. It was a really, really big turning point for the season. Hey, this is the first episode of the show I ever saw. I respect and like the concept of this episode a lot, and of course I have some nostalgia with it. I love the idea of doing a haunted house movie within your Monster of the Week episode. I think it's an awesome idea. I just think the episode is a little rushed. I like to think that this episode and some others in the show would have benefited from a Doctor Who format where there's some one-off episodes that are two-parters. The second half of the episode is actually pretty solid, but I feel like we speed run through a lot of it. I like these new characters enough, and there's a lot of history and mystery here that's cool, and maybe we could have made this another Ghostfacers type episode where Sam and Dean are barely in it. I don't know, as is, it's fine, and I respect it a lot more than I like it. This one's really, really fun. It's such a memorable episode to me. I love the three magician characters a lot, and I think the ending is really poignant and makes you think. Great character work with Sam and Dean too. This one's always a sleeper pick for me when it comes to some of my favorite episodes of the show. I just view it as such a powerful character examination into both Sam and Dean. It's probably the best use of flashbacks and the only flashback episode that truly earns its existence. Seeing the kid in the flashbacks turn into Sam and seeing just how he really has fallen from wanting to be normal into the freak that he is in season 4, it's heartbreaking. I like this one. It's got a fun twist as the siren targets Dean instead of Sam, and I think the siren as a monster is really, really fun. The episode works best when it's focusing on the character work between Sam and Dean. It's almost a miscommunication trope, but I think it's one that really works well because the feelings that they're letting out are real at the end of the episode. Very cool episode. I really feel like episode 7 and this, which focus explicitly on a single seal, are really, really cool. I remember there being more episodes that focused on seals, but I think limiting it to just 2 is actually a good idea. It makes the season feel way less formulaic, so when Sam and Dean stumble onto a seal, it's actually exciting. I like that Sam and Dean turn into ghosts, the return of Tess is cool. Pamela's death is really what brings this episode down though, it just feels unnecessary. The character already experienced so much trauma with her eyes being burnt out that her dying just kind of feels like a plot device. Still, great episode though. This one's so awesome. This is when the season just like locks in. Their wheels turn so much here. We get to see Dean torture Alistair, which is already a really interesting premise for an episode, but the episode shows us all the different aspects of our characters. Sam's taken an even darker path than he was on before, and now he's able to kill demons? Kill demons with his mind? What? The episode also finally turns Castiel into a real character. He has doubts, he has reasons to want to rebel. His scene with Uriel at the end was terrific, and I love Uriel's betrayal because it seems so telegraphed, but it's still a crazy moment when it happens. Castiel is torn between two angels begging for disobedience, and he chooses Anna at the end, deciding to kill Uriel. We learned so much in this episode too. From the fact that Azazel wanted John and Hell to break the first seal, to the fact that Dean ended up doing it instead, or the fact that Uriel literally worships and follows Lucifer, meaning that there's angels that follow the devil. This is the first episode that introduces the wider conspiracy that some angels want the apocalypse to occur. If I have any flaw at all that keeps it from being a perfect episode, I think the transition to being a Castiel episode is a little jarring. It sort of just decides for the last 12 or so minutes that it wants to focus explicitly on Castiel, and it can make it feel like they didn't pace it that well. Such a fun episode. I love the new life Sam and Dean are dropped into, and I think the ghost hunt is really entertaining. The twist at the end is just the cherry on top too. I love Zachariah a lot, and his introduction is really, really good. Yeah, this one's peak, man. I love how it pivots from goofy, haha, Sam and Dean are in books and have a fan base, to one of the darkest episodes of the entire show. Seeing Sam and Dean's rift grow was so cool. I love how the funniness of the meta transition turns into such a compelling escape your fate plot. The ending with Zachariah 2 really shows how sinister these angels are. It feels like this is when the writers really understood what the end game of the season was going to be, and they start leaning into it. This is probably the only real dud of season 4. It's far from a terrible episode, it firmly rides the line of okay. I think it's more offensive as a tension breaker than anything. This is the exact wrong spot to have a breather episode, and as interesting as Adam could be conceptually, it just wasn't executed super well and was placed at the horriblest of times. Oh man. One of my favorite things about this episode is Misha Collins' acting. Jimmy does not, in any way, feel like Castiel. These are two completely separate characters, and that's really cool. The episode just feels like a calm before the storm. I love seeing Sam strung out, that him lunging into that demon's neck and drinking its blood during the climax is just wow. And Dean seeing it for the first time, understanding exactly what's become of his brother. The ending of season 4 is insane. This episode is fantastic. The way that it manages to tie in so many plot and character threads from across the season is awesome. I love Sam's hallucinations. Seeing Kids Sam from After School Special was especially great. And the ending, man, always breaks my heart seeing the two fight like that. What an amazing finale. Honestly, wow. I love all the twists that happened this episode. It feels like the moment where they finally locked in not only their plans for the apocalypse, but their plans for season 5. This is the first time it actually feels like Dean was meant to be Michael's vessel. They're keeping him in heaven just so Michael can show up and scoop him. The fact that the brothers are separated and the angels are orchestrating everything and the demons are helping them, utterly jaw-dropping. I love this finale. Easily the best finale of the show up until this point. Season 4 is a nearly flawless season. The mythology just explodes, the emotional stakes skyrocket, and the writing is tighter than ever. Even the weaker episodes are solid, and the highlights are some of the best TV the series ever produced. It's kinda crazy how much this premiere feels like the opener of a final season. Just in its bones, it does. Bringing back Meg, the reveals we get, the tension and scope, it's also tense and palpable. They get across the feeling that it's the end of the world so effortlessly. And I love the character work in this episode too, especially with Sam. The scene with possessed Bobby and Sam was awesome. I think the only reason I don't love this episode as a perfect episode is the Nick and Lucifer stuff isn't integrated that well into the episode. It's great stuff and I love the dialogue. It's also a fantastic introduction to Lucifer, but I feel like the pacing and implementation of it didn't work. It'd be better as a cold open or the final scene. I don't think sprinkling it throughout worked for me. Always loved how the Horsemen were handled in the season. It almost makes up for how badly they botched the 7 deadly sins. This one's really, really fun. I love Ward dicking around and causing chaos, and the setting is really cool. I also like seeing Rufus, Ellen, and Joe all together. Again, this really feels like a culmination of all the show so far. The split plot here is really, really fun. Dean and Castiel's face-off against Raphael was genuinely awesome, and I love the set and cinematography and music. The Sam stuff is also really, really cool. And the ending with Lucifer saying that he's meant to be with Sam, saying Sam's his vessel, such a good moment. I really, really love how season 5 takes its time. Episodes 1 through 4 tell the short little act 1, so to speak, for the season, and we see Sam and Dean's immediate reaction to Lucifer's ascension, them trying to work together, the erosion between them, and then we get the end, which shows Dean that they have to reconcile or there's no other way this ends. I love this episode too. I love seeing the Croatoan return. I love human Castiel. Future Dean is so cool. And the scene between Lucifer and Dean at the end is haunting. Fantastic episode, man. I love season 5 so much. Crazy that it takes until 5 episodes in to fully get a true bona fide one-off episode. But it's really solid. I think it suffers from the same issue that unfortunately every one-off episode this season does, where it just doesn't feel important when the apocalypse is going on. I love the premise of famous ghosts, and the twist is cool, as well as the Paris Hilton cameo. But I don't know. I think the beef is handled well, and it's a solid episode, just one of the weaker in season 5, which means it's almost incredible. This is a great way of an episode that's technically a one-off, but it weaves itself into the season's overarching mythology in a very cool way. I love how this kid feels pivotal, and it's such a really cool minor battle in a very big war. It's a fun time. One of my favorite episodes of the show. So many iconic lines, but my favorite has to be Bobby calling old Dean John McCain. Very funny episode, and I love seeing Dean get old and age. Not to mention the monster is such a fun antagonist, with him being a centuries-old witch, and I think the poker game concept just rules. Yeah, this is one of the best episodes of the show. I've recently seen a lot of people ranking this episode higher than Swan Song, and while I don't agree at all, I actually do understand it. This one is hilarious, trippy, and confusing, and just downright magical in its execution. The shift from goofy one-off to dramatic myth arc furthering the confrontation with Gabriel was fantastic. This one's fun. It's nowhere near my favorite of these hyper meta supernatural exist in the real world episode, but I liked it. I think it flies a little too close to the metaphorical sun here, but it's solid. If this was actually in the final season, I would have liked it, or if this was the 100th episode, it would have been cool. But overall, it's a good enough time. This episode needs to win an award for the single most apt title in all of television. It's just so great. There could be discussions about whether it was the right call to kill off Ellen and Joe, but honestly, I love it. It gives the season a shot of tension and true cataclysm. You don't walk out of the apocalypse unscathed. And I know people complain that they died deaths that achieve nothing, but that's the entire point. The rest of the episode is so good too. Lucifer and Castiel's scene is so great. This is Lucifer's first true episode of the show. I just love the climax so much. I used to view this episode as a major pace breaker, and I think it could still be seen as one, but I think the episode does a lot of great character stuff for Sam and Dean. It's nice fallout from the last episode, and I'd argue you need a breather episode after the last one. It's really funny in this episode, but my major issue with Swap Meet is that Dean doesn't immediately tie Sam down and figure out what happened. I'm sorry, I just do not buy that Dean Winchester, of all people, doesn't clue into the fact that Sam isn't Sam until 30 minutes into the episode. Otherwise, I like it. I don't mean to sound like a broken record here, but this episode is so good. It yet again feels like the kind of thing that you'd save for a final season. Sam and Dean are both, this time, taken back to meet their parents, and it's a little bit of a retread from season 4's In the Beginning, but it works though, and I actually think this one's better. There was one scene that really cemented the finality of this episode and season for me, and it was Sam's lament to John about how he's finally forgiven his father, and he finally understands why he was the way he was. It's a really emotional moment, and it's one of the best scenes for Jared this season. And then when Michael showed up, man, everything just went so hard. Every option Sam and Dean had is worse than the last, and everything has come crumbling down. The fact that they even plead with their mother to make it so they were never born is genuinely haunting, and you feel the stakes of everything. This is the end of everything for them. They have no other route. If I had any qualm with this episode to keep it from the perfect score, it's just that Anna's kind of mid in it. I feel like she's reintroduced to season 5 far too quickly and shuffled out with the same rapid pace. It's not that she's poorly written here, I just don't think she was written to the best of her ability. I've always really liked this episode. Not only is it really fun to have a Horseman episode, but I think it's one is really smartly written and integral to the show's arc going forward. Sam and Dean's arcs are both done so well in this episode, and it was genuinely sad to see Sam relapse on demon blood, as well as seeing Dean's reaction to it. It also is the first one that really shows that Dean is losing all hope that they can stop the apocalypse. Hands down gotta be one of the best Bobby-centric episodes in the entire show. I really love the introduction of Jodie here. It's fascinating because she doesn't feel like an important character when she's introduced, but it's cool to know how integral she becomes in later seasons. This is one of the most emotionally devastating episodes of the entire show, and one of my favorite episodes of TV probably ever. It's such a well-written script, and it tells you everything you need to know about Sam and Dean's arcs at this point in the season, but even more, it defines the characters throughout the show. All of Sam's memories being without Dean, and every single one of Dean's memories being about family, was just heartbreaking, but rational from both sides. The confrontation with Joshua in the garden is one of my favorite scenes of the entire show, and the ending, man, with Castiel saying the amulet is useless because it can't find God, but it's also useless now to Dean, someone who valued the amulet as a gift given to him by Sam when their father missed Christmas. Throughout everything, he left it on, even through the depths of season 4, and now he throws it in the damn trash. And I haven't even talked about the direction and cinematography of this episode, but it's beautiful. It's such a well shot episode. I love the colors and how trippy it feels. It's so dreamlike, and I just love the concept that Sam and Dean literally die and have to fight their way out of heaven. One of my favorite examples of essentially being a one-off that's folded into the main story alongside the episode with Jesse earlier in the season. I love the town they're in. The Whore of Babylon is a fun villain, but the character stuff is what seals the episode for me. It's really strong. It was smart to have a breather episode after Dark Side of the Moon, and the next episode because you see Dean really try and hold out hope, and I love when he gives in. The scene where he stabs the Whore of Babylon and kills her, revealing that he's finally given over to heaven, it's killer, dude. This one's just damn awesome. I love Dean's entire arc in this episode, his claw back from the depths of despair and lack of faith. Love it. The climax is terrific. I love Zachariah's death. Adam is actually pretty well used. I like that he's a trap at the end of the day, but it makes sense that Michael would try it. He's just tired of waiting. If I had anything keeping this from a perfect score, I think the pacing is a little wobbly, I guess. And again, Adam in general just never really sits right, and I don't love the idea that Michael used him as a vessel, even if it makes narrative sense. Lucifer is so cool, man. He's so awesome. I love seeing basically all of Earth's pantheon of gods unite. It expands the apocalypse and actually makes it feel larger than life, which is good because one of my slight issues with season 5 is how confined it feels. I get it, the show is centered around Sam and Dean, but sometimes it's cool to see how the apocalypse is affecting the rest of the universe. I love seeing Lucifer just go ham and destroy all these guys too. It's solid. I love the Crowley stuff, and the Brady and Sam stuff is a really solid retcon that makes the entire show more interesting in my opinion. I think my only issue with the episode is that they're still holding off taking out Pestilence. It makes the episode as a whole feel a bit more filler than I'd like. Still a really, really good time though. This is how you do a penultimate episode, man. I love how Crowley's officially kind of part of the team now. The final scene with Bobby and Dean is terrific, where Dean decides that he's going to let Sam jump into the pit. And the scene with Dean and Death is one of my favorites of the entire show. It's tense, dramatic, and it really expands the entire scope of the series. If there's any complaint at all, I think the episode is a little stuffed. I really wish they'd resolve Pestilence and maybe even the Croatoan stuff in episode 20, instead of holding off for this one, and just leave the episode to be about death. Still, what it is, this is a fantastic penultimate episode to the show. What can I say that hasn't already been said, man? This is a legitimately perfect episode of TV in my eyes, and the perfect finale for the show. Did you know they knew they were renewed well before writing this? And yet they still wrote an episode of TV that closed up every single plotline and barely introduced anything else? Sure, I guess Castiel says it's chaos in heaven, but that's not a plot point really, it's just a natural statement. And the tease at the end with Sam, I think it'd be cool even if the show ended there. It'd be open to interpretation, and still to this day would probably be debated. This is my favorite episode of TV. the way it does so much with so little, the tension that you feel throughout of it, the hopelessness, and then the scene where Sam takes back agency and jumps into the pit. Oh man, it's directed fantastically. It's a perfect culmination. And I love how the final battle of the apocalypse is just so subdued and quiet. I genuinely hope to write something this compelling and grand one day. I love this episode. The pinnacle of supernatural storytelling is season 5. There's emotional power, mythological clarity, and every character beat just lands. Every twist is earned, every sacrifice means something. This is one of the best seasons of television I have ever seen. Whew! We just went through the entirety of Supernatural, from seasons 1 through 5, from pilot to swan song. We chronicled the entire show. So, what more is there to say? There's more? Sit back, make sure you stand up for a moment and walk around a bit. Do you have enough water? Have you drank enough water today? Go ahead and grab a snack too, because we've got a lot more to get through. All right, let's go season 6. It's kind of funny actually how drastic the fall off is after season 5. Obviously no episode was going to compare to Swan Song, but I really do think they could have opened season 6 on a better note. It's not terrible. In fact, I do actually like the episode for the most part, but it's mainly for the character stuff with Dean and Lisa in the opening. I do like that they really show that something's wrong with Sam. This is not Sam Winchester. He's a freaky, fucked up, and manipulative bastard. The way he immediately transitions from saying that he was happy with Lisa to then saying that he shoved Dean onto Lisa is really solid, and I think it really changes the way that we view Sam and Dean as a dynamic. Sam is no longer compassionate. He's cold and calculated. Something's wrong. Honestly, this was on track to be a really solid episode, but everything goes to hell once they get to Samuel's compound. I fucking hate these characters so much. Christian sucks, Gwen sucks, Samuel sucks. I hate how they treat Dean like he's some freak because he was happy. What were the writers thinking? Anyway, the episode's fine, I guess. It was solid. It was funny. I like the babies in the supermarket. There's some great ideas here, but this is a really sloppily written episode. Things sort of just happen and the characters teleport all around, and I get I get it. The idea is that Castiel's taking them on his hunt instead of vice versa, but I don't know, it didn't really work for me. It was jarring. It's not a bad episode. It's probably the best episode so far, but it could have been really great, and it always makes me sad how clunky it is. Season 6 locked in. It's about time the show gave Bobby his own episode, and the execution is really solid. It's a really funny episode with fantastic moments throughout. I love Bobby's scene laying into Sam and Dean. It was very cathartic, but you know he means well. My only complaints come from the demon lore editions of them just being ghosts, essentially. I don't really get that. Kinda silly. Still, it's the first really honest to God great episode of season 6. There's certain episodes of shows like this, and by that I mean CW shows, where it feels like it lacks any weight at all. This is probably the first episode like that for Supernatural. So much happens in this episode, but very little of it feels important. Dean literally becomes a vampire, and the episode just goes by with character beats that aren't interesting. They don't do anything new with it. I don't feel like Dean learned anything from his time as a vampire. All he did was burn a bridge with Lisa in a really dumb scene, and then they move on. Not to mention that the act of curing a vampire is really stupid. Not a good episode. Probably one of the worst of the show so far. Dean's paranoia trying to decide what's wrong with Sam was really, really compelling. The rest of it, I don't care. This episode acts as a fairly compelling reset to the season's status quo. The Campbells are still annoying, but the season picks a lane and starts to move into more interesting directions. Samuel gets glimmers of decent character writing, and the Alpha Vampire is pretty awesome. I like this one. I watched my friend play Pac-Man on Discord on my second monitor like Subway Surfers on TikTok. There's some alright moments here, and I like the idea of Sam and Dean having to hunt monsters for Crowley, but they never go anywhere with it. I like Sam's soulless stuff though. Definite highlight of season 6 and one of my favorites of the season. I wish the main plot was better though, because all the comedic bits are some of the funniest in the entire show. Soulless Sam continues to be hilarious. Dean getting abducted is very funny, and the fact that he gets arrested is great. The entire episode is such a wacky time. I just don't care for the villain. It's not bad, but it's not as good as the comedic bits of the episode. This is one of those plot episodes where a lot happens, but nothing really happens. It finally carves Sam into somewhat of an interesting villain, but I know nothing comes of it. And Soulless Sam is getting to a weird kind of unhinged thing that I don't like that they do. Crowley's death is out of nowhere, but it's not all terrible, just kind of whatever. It feels a little sloppy. I know they retcon it later, but it doesn't help the actual execution in the episode. I love episodes like this because it always reminds me how good this show can still be when it focuses on what really works. This is such a great episode that really hones into Dean's character, and it resolves the plot line with Sam's soul in such a fantastic way. Death is always a welcome addition on the show, and I really loved everything to do with him. The only major downside is I still think that Soulless Sam has fallen off a cliff as a character, so I'm glad that he's gone now. I've always enjoyed this episode. It almost feels like a normal and classic Supernatural episode. Sure, the dragons are a little stupid, but the lore and the way the season pivots to purgatory is pretty cool. I also always loved having Sam back. Part of why I never felt like his resurrection from season 5 was that cheap was because Soulless Sam really did feel like a different character. I truly feel like we haven't seen Sam since Swan Song. This one's fun. I like the flashbacks. Seeing Soulless Sam at the same time as regular Sam really drives home that these two feel like completely different characters. And the monsters here were pretty cool too. Solid episode, if a little unremarkable. This is easily the worst episode of Supernatural up until this point. But it's an episode that I almost respect for its boldness and kind of want to study. This is Supernatural attempting a B-movie plot, and it is truly as dreadful and bad as you'd expect a movie called Mannequin 3: The Reckoning to be. Most of it is boring fluff, and then the ending is so catastrophically funny that every time I watch it, I start laughing so hard. The haunted car and the girl's death just tickles me. What a fascinating episode, though. It succeeds in its attempt to be bad, but at what cost? Yeah, they cooked with this one. Easily one of the funniest episodes of the whole show. It's a baffling idea, but it's one that fits into the show so well, lining up with the other meta episodes the show has done. This is honestly right up there with an episode like Changing Channels for me. It's also so funny to imagine the future of this alternate universe they're in. Like a fan-loved, long-running 6-season show ends abruptly after 2 lead actors have a crash out and buy body parts from Mexico. Misha Collins is stabbed to death and 2 executive producers are shot on set. Insane. It's honestly sad how this episode turned out because the first 10 or so minutes were setting up a really cool dynamic. I liked Bobby and Rufus and Sam and Dean going on a hunt, and it just sort of devolves into nothing. Happy to see Samuel finally bite it, but honestly this episode felt like it wanted to be more important than it actually was. And Rufus's death was just totally unnecessary. Oh, brother. This one's honestly got potential, but it just falls apart with how stupid it is. Why did Castiel save the Titanic? Why? I think it's an idea that could have worked for a Final Destination-esque episode, but the execution just sucks. The characters feel flat, and the episode doesn't have anything going on for it. The return of Ellen is a nice return, but I feel like a better alternate universe episode could have done more with less. I love how Sam and Dean just stumble upon a super random library that not only tells them exactly how to defeat Eve, but also just so happens to have Samuel Colt's diary. This episode is honestly full of extremely dopey and convenient plot moments, but man, if it isn't fun as hell. The setting is so awesome, the way Dean takes charge in this cowboy era is so fun. I love Sam's discussion with Samuel Colt, and it's such an awesome moment. I think Colt's character was actually way better than I ever thought he would have been. And I love the Back to the Future-ass storytelling with Colt sending them the ashes from the past. It's really, really awesome. One of the best one-offs ever. I enjoy this episode a lot more every time I see it, even if I think that the story surrounding it could have been better. I think the concept of Sam and Dean tracking down Eve in this town is really cool, and I love the Jefferson starships as they almost feel like proto-Leviathans. The final scene with Eve and the boys is done really well too, even if Eve morphing into looking like their mom was a little emotionally manipulative. And I only mean that because it really felt like the writers were too unsure of themselves to make the scene hit, so they had to try too hard for that. Ultimately, my only major issue of this episode has to do with the stuff around the episode. It was gearing up to be a major chapter in the ongoing war against Eve, but it ends up being the resolution for it. and I think the way she's defeated is extremely anticlimactic. It's a fun enough time though, and I like the aspects of how it pushes the season forward in other ways. Castiel's reveal that he's working with Crowley at the end was genuinely awesome, and it's a subtle pivot into the final arc of the season. I love the reveal from Eve that Crowley survived too. It's jumbled in its resolution of Eve, but not a bad episode at all. It's actually really fun. Yeah, it's a great episode and one of the best of the season, but I almost wish it came earlier, you know? I also wish the episode was all a clip show from earlier in the season showing Castiel's point of view. I think the fact that it has to do so much present day plot stuff is indicative of the season's major issue with how we're running on borrowed time now to make this season work. Castiel is genuinely morphing into a really compelling villain here, and I like how he honestly thinks he's doing the right thing, thinking he's Sam and Dean's protector still, but he's gone so far off the reservation. It's a mirror almost of Sam's arc from season 4. The major problem now is how the show only has 2 episodes left to make anything compelling out of that twist. This is far from a terrible episode. In fact, it's actually pretty solid for the most part, but I just don't really like how the episode handles its placement in the season. This doesn't feel penultimate. After the prior episode, I was ready to really dive into Castiel as the big bad, but instead we're introducing H.P. Lovecraft, I guess. This is a weird retcon that a character from 9 episodes ago is from Purgatory, and it's baffling. In a season with more time, I think I could appreciate this episode. As it is, it just muddies the season with even more concepts than it needed. We never revisit Lovecraftian horror, and it's not like we even really visit it here. And the writing surrounding that plot is also stupid to me. Castiel steals a book from Bobby's collection, but oh, it's okay, Bobby photocopied it. And then at the end, Eleanor refuses protection, and guess what? Now Castiel uses her to find a way into Purgatory. It's a fine episode, it has its moments, but a little too wheel spinny for something so close to the end. It's a better finale than this season deserved, but it doesn't do everything right to save the sinking ship of season 6. The stuff with Sam having to put himself back together is a genuinely compelling end to probably the only truly well done plot of this season, which is Sam's character story. I really love the scene with him and his soulless self, and then the scene with the damaged Sam was also really good. I think Castiel's transition into full villain here is great too. He was already on a slippery slope, but now everyone's abandoned him when he thought he was right, so now he's all powerful, and he's not going to stop. It only really concludes the Sam plot though, which makes the cliffhanger feel a little bit underwhelming. I don't know, Castiel finally assumes true villainhood and then everything just ends. It's a great episode and a fine enough end to a season that was way too shaky to save, but luckily the season itself didn't get damned all to hell. Season 6 is an absolute disaster of a season when it comes to main plot, episode quality most of the time, and pacing, but it lumps itself together at the very end and turns out honestly an okay resolution to a season that was so messy. I like a lot of the ideas and I think a lot of concepts are cool, but really the only well done thing throughout the season is Sam's soulless plotline and Castiel's turn into a villain, even if they don't give that the full time it needs before the season's over. Yeah, I really wish this episode was the finale of season 6. Cut out some of the fluff, of which most is pretty good, and then add in the first 10 or so minutes of episode 2 of this season, and I think season 6 would have one of the best finales of the show. I really do like this episode though. Castiel finally feels like the villain that I wanted. I love how he's abusing his powers, and the episode does right with its tension. Death's involvement is also really fun. I remember liking this one a lot more in the past, and I think it's still really great, but it's got a little bit of bloat at times, and I think it suffers from still feeling like we're in season 6. Great cliffhanger though. I always forget how well season 7 starts. It's not that I dislike this season, I'm actually a rare defender of it when I say it's not the worst of the show, but it's definitely not the best. These opening episodes just kick off the Leviathans in such an exciting and fun way, and it's pretty easy to see why the show rarely does this. It makes subsequent one-offs feel really hard to feel relevant, and we'll see that almost immediately. This episode is actually pretty solid up until the ending. I think the flashbacks are enjoyable and the main plot is pretty enjoyable too, but man, what the hell were they thinking with the ending? Like, what the actual hell? Dean killing Amy is wildly out of pocket, and I hate the drama that it leads to. I see no reason for this to have happened. Really awful ending that ruined the episode for me. It took a bit to get going, but once it did, I think this really locked into being something special. It's a little disappointing because with a better script, this could have easily been one of the best of the show, and it is very solid. but I don't feel like it fully met its potential. Should have brought back a few more guest stars to put Dean on trial. And while Dean killing Amy in the prior episode was really bad and dumb, I do like the guilt that he feels. I think it's pretty interesting to see him reckon with that. This one's surprisingly fun. I like Maggie and Dawn Stark a lot. They were really entertaining, and I'm not a huge Buffy fan, but it was cool seeing these two in the episode. It's not anything amazing, but it was fun and entertaining, and I like how it weaves Chet the Leviathan chasing them into the plot. It makes the season feel pretty serialized up until now. This is probably my favorite episode of the season so far, but it's another episode that I feel like doesn't really reach the heights I know it could. It's good, it's very fun, and it's the first Robbie Thompson episode. He does a lot of great work later on, but something about it still feels a little safe, maybe a tad uninspired. I think that's how season 7 in a nutshell has felt so far though, just a tad uninspired. I was just really bored by this episode. The concept isn't that interesting to me to begin with. I don't really care about Sam and Dean visiting the most psychic town or whatever, and I can't stand the Sam and Dean breakup in this season. It just feels like the writers couldn't either because it's over now. I don't know, just such a forgettable and mediocre episode. Not even bad, just completely nothing. The episode where Sam's autonomy is completely removed from him and the writers think it's funny. I'm not laughing. At least it introduces us to Garth. We love you, Garth. This is actually such a fun episode once you get into it. Dick Roman is a pretty fun villain, and I can understand why some people don't like him, but I love the parody of the businessman, and the political satire in the episode is really funny too. I actually like this for Dean's character as well. He's clearly in the dumps after Castiel and the Leviathans and everything. Unfortunately, the season doesn't do anything with it at all, so it becomes a little unfortunate to see it start so well in this episode. I think the climax is just great. It's a solid episode that moves some chess pieces forward in a really cool way. This is one of the best episodes of the entire show. Just a really carefully constructed and beautiful episode, spending time with one of the greatest characters on the show. I love Bobby and Rufus's dynamic in it. I love the way it handles the concept of your life flashing before your eyes. It's just such a great send-off to a great character. Surprisingly, a really fun episode. I really like Chrissy. I think she's a fun addition, and the stuff with Dean and Frank is cool. It's a really nice melding of the Monster of the Week and plot episode format. Although I do hate that Frank literally tells Dean in this episode to just keep pushing and pushing down his doubt and depression and anxiety and keep smiling, because that's essentially what the writers do, and they don't address it after this episode. Very fun time travel episode. Not quite as good as last season's Frontierland, but that might be because I'm less into this setting than I am the Old West. I think there's a lot of plot contrivances in the climax, but it's still pretty inventive and very, very fun. Seeing Dean team up with Elliot Ness was also incredible. Yeah, I don't know about this one, Chief. I don't think it's bad. It has some funny and entertaining moments, but it's just kind of a wash. I don't think it handles the concept of Dean being a father in an interesting way, and it's very weightless. Just a lot of waffling dialogue. At least I thought the professor guy was funny. This one's so fun. I don't care. It's not the snappiest script, but the concept is so entertaining and fun. And I love how it brings up Sam's fear of clowns. Just a damn good time. I almost forget how good a lot of one-offs in season 7 can be. Of course, now that I say that, we get to Repo Man. I like the Sam and Lucifer stuff. I think it's cool to see Sam struggle with his visions again, but this is the first time that we've seen it since episode 2, and it's honestly felt very lackluster since then. The rest of this episode is very dull. There's some cool ideas, but it never turns into anything special. And the dude Jeffrey is annoying as hell. Again, I think the idea of a demon's former host wanting the demon back could have been interesting, but they don't execute it well. I used to like this episode a lot more, but I don't know, I was kind of just bored as hell. I almost like the Cursed Object episode more than when the Leviathans show up. I just don't care about their plan, and I realize this episode is the one that creates the big problem with them, and that's that they're not scary anymore. The Leviathan started as genuinely scary, and that's what always makes me sad about season 7. The menace is just gone. They're just yahoos now. You can hold a sword to their neck and scare them? Whatever, man. It's good. Like a lot of episodes this season, I feel like it could have been absolutely amazing, but it circles around to just being solid instead. It's kind of like what they did with Dean, where they just push down his trauma and they say, hey, that's the end of it. He's not, he's not depressed anymore. This one does it with Sam's visions and hallucinations with Lucifer. Castiel just takes it on and he's like resolved of his guilt and Sam's resolved of his trauma. It feels like a better resolution to Castiel's guilt plot than Sam's trauma plot, and that's sad. It's a fun time though. I do like the vulnerability of seeing Sam trying to help someone in the psych ward with him, and I like seeing him in the psych ward. This is just an episode that should have been way better, and unfortunately it's just not. They have got to start putting Garth in better episodes, man. He's entertaining a lot, but they just don't give him the best material. 2 ghost episodes in a row? Oh man, I don't even know what to say about this one. Just utterly vapid. Ghost Bobby is neat, I get. What's even happening with this season anymore? The Leviathans suck. The one-offs start to suck. Oh my. Holy shit. Finally some sauce. I've liked a few episodes this season, but it's been really stale since around episode 13. None of the episodes make me go wow except for Death's Door, but this episode was really fun. I've never loved the character of Charlie. She's a little too millennial core for me, but her character works really well here and her dynamic with Sam and Dean is genuinely great. I also love the heist vibes of this episode. It's edited in such a fun way, the scenes are paced in such a snappy fashion, and Dick Roman is a good antagonist that I always wish was actually used more. Although it's really funny how this episode, it basically just opens with Ghost Bobby giving us an exposition dump on stuff that I would have liked to know 5 episodes ago. Seriously feels like we just wasted time and then he just info dumps everything we need to know. I did not expect to enjoy this one as much as I did. I always knew I liked it, but this episode really did a lot for Castiel as a character that I really enjoy. I love his scene with Dean and the Day Center. I love when they play the game Sorry, and I just love his attitude throughout the episode. The introduction of Kevin is really good, and I don't know, I think it's just a really strong written episode and a very emotional Castiel-centric episode. It's a nice follow-up on his arc from Season 6, which is one of the few well-done elements of that season. This was pretty fun for the most part, but then it settled into a pretty drawn-out and repetitive affair. It wasn't bad at all, I just think it could have been a really fun smash and grab kind of episode assembling the weapon, but since we already got access to 2 of the ingredients for it, they just have to focus on the Alpha Vampire. And he's interesting, and I do love the idea of teaming up with another villain to stop the Leviathans, but I don't know. The episode just kind of didn't work too much for me. Not bad, got some fun moments, but I don't know. The Ghost Bobby stuff was cool at least. This is the worst season finale of Supernatural up until this point. And most of the time, they're pretty good. The Season 7 finale is a lot like Season 7 in general. Adequately put together, lacking in a lot of tension, but still thematically and conceptually interesting enough to keep you strung along. The episode spends a lot of time going nowhere fast before ultimately and abruptly wrapping up the season's major conflict. It's not that anything here is bad, in fact most of it's fairly enjoyable, but they just spend so much talking that when they eventually do show up to Sucrocorp to ice Dick, it happens in about 3 seconds. Not a terrible ending, but far from a great one. It does the job and doesn't end the season any worse than it already was, but it doesn't elevate the season to a new height or save it either. It's a little underwhelming considering that the season started to pick up a little bit with episode 20. And that's Season 7. It's kind of a mixed bag. I think it's better than Season 6 in a lot of ways, but I think in a lot of ways it might be worse. Whereas Season 6 was chaotic and didn't know what plot it wanted to follow and felt like it was spinning its wheels in a lot of regards, the season still had a lot of genuinely fantastic moments and elements, and some fantastic episodes within it as well. With Season 7, the season's just kind of dull and feels like the show is really tired. It's really running on empty and they don't do anything with a lot of their concepts. Sam's visions of Lucifer are cool, but they don't do anything with it, and when they do, they just hand wave it away. Dean's depression and alcoholism could be cool, but he just pushes it down and they never talk about it. It's an underwhelming season and not a drastic improvement over Season 6, even if I might like it a little bit more. Solid season opener. It's a bit too heavy on the flashbacks, but I like how it gets the ball rolling on the season mythology, even if it ends up feeling like they introduced it a little too early. Sam is a little out of character for not looking for Dean, but I kind of understand him. He was genuinely alone and had no idea where to go. Plus, Jared's acting was really good in the scene where he learned that Kevin was all on his own. I think the episode also establishes Crowley as a really, really strong villain. Good time. This has to be one of the dumbest episodes of the entire show, but I mean that really affectionately. Kevin's mom is such a fun character, the occult items auction is so awesome, and Sam Winchester wields Mjolnir. Just a fun-ass time. Yeah, the Sam and Dean drama this season is terrible. And so is this episode. I'm just kidding, it's not terrible, but I do think it's really around this season where the one-offs start just turning into plain filler. I refuse to call early Supernatural Monster of the Week episodes filler, but the more serialized the show gets, the worse these procedural entries become. This one has nothing really to say, it's just entirely bland and boring. It's alright. It's far from a bad episode, but it's kind of similar to Ghostfacers from season 3 for me, where it's still lacking enough in the Sam and Dean scenes to make it so that I'm not too engaged in the episode. I like the found footage concept though, and it was a cool episode to attempt. There's some interesting ideas in this episode, especially in the purgatory stuff, but I don't think it ever really came together in an interesting way. It's decent, the vampire plot is whatever, and I kind of like the idea of Sam having a day off in the motel room, but the Sam flashbacks are genuinely some of the worst things the show ever did. I cannot stand seeing Sam and Amelia together. These characters do not work, and I do not like seeing Sam in a rom-com sort of Days of Our Lives ass soap opera. I just don't like it. They finally did it. They put Garth in a good episode. This one's really fun. I think the Spectre is a cool idea, and I like how it feels relevant to the main story and the Sam and Dean drama, even if said Sam and Dean drama is terrible. I also love how this episode shows Bobby's death affected other people than Sam and Dean. Garth is such a fantastic character, and he makes for a great new Bobby. It's a really good time. Man, Season 8 just is not that much better than Season 6 or 7 right now. Castiel's return is great, but the rest of the episode is really, really boring. I like the flashbacks and the resolution of the time in Purgatory, but it just feels like it's trying to gaslight you into thinking the plot is moving when nothing really happens. They get Kevin in here, I guess, and the tablet is split and they get half the tablet, and it feels so boring. Nothing has really happened this season. Sam and Dean feel out of character, and none of the momentum and mechanics with their character arcs right now are working. Just a wholly uninteresting episode. Not bad, but I really couldn't care less. This would literally be an all-timer episode if the show had not had these horrible, horrible Sam flashbacks. They're just awful. They're shot horribly, the colors suck, the characters suck. I just hate how they're implanted, and then the cliffhanger of Amelia's husband actually being alive was just so stupid, man. Complete soap opera shit. The rest of the episode is amazing though. Castiel being a hunter is so funny and I love it. I love the Looney Tunes shit, and the whole thing is just so damn well executed. The flashbacks genuinely drag down this episode so much. This should be a 10 out of 10. This episode is solid enough. I like Benny. Benny is cool, and I do like his dynamic with Dean. I think this episode gets brownie points for killing the character of Martin. That dude was annoying as hell. Unfortunately, this episode really suffers from Sam's behavior. To put it simply, they fucked up my goat. Sam is always the one to treat monsters better than any other hunter. It's gotten him in trouble before, and now I can't believe that he would think that Benny has to be evil. This doesn't make any sense. It's the core problem with Season 8 so far. I just cannot stand what they did to Sam's character. And the flashbacks? Absolutely horrific. It's a good enough episode when it deals with Benny and Dean's dynamic, and that carries it a lot. But I do not like this episode that much at all. It's not the kick in the ass I wish this season would get, and it's kind of a limp mid-season finale because it does nothing to push the narrative forward at all. Hell yeah, hell yeah. Now this is the Season 8 reset. They drop all that goofball shit. Benny, gone. Amelia, gone. Their drama, squashed. All the while this episode starts introducing crazy lore drop after crazy lore drop. Angels can be hacked now? That's cool as shit. Angel blades can kill demons now? Cool as shit. I love the ideas of angels being programmed and shit. That shit's awesome. I also love Castiel being manipulated by heaven. I always forget how badass that plot is. This episode's great. Really solid turning point for the season. This is a really fun episode, but the twist and villain always let me down. It's so close to being iconic, but Boltor, whoever being the villain, has always just been mid. Very fun episode though, one of the highlights of season 8. Just wish the villain was stronger. Men of Letters are so cool, dude. Oh man, I love them. This is a solid episode. I don't have much to say about it other than I like Henry, and it was cool to know that at least one of Sam and Dean's grandparents wasn't a total jack-off. And again, I love the Men of Letters, so this episode was really awesome. I wish Abaddon wasn't such a bad villain though. I don't give a shit about her character. I love secret societies, bro. I love societies that are secret. Cool little bases and libraries. That's so cool. I also do hate Nazis. It was fun to see Sam and Dean battle the Thools, and it was really, really fun to follow up on the Men of Letters introduction with battling essentially the evil Men of Letters with the Thule Society. Season 8 has for real turned around in these last couple episodes. It's been so long since Sam and Dean actually saved people. Like, they're always doing good because they're killing monsters and saving more lives, but it often feels like people die to set the stage and they never get there in time. But it was really nice to see them save Ellie. The episode is also just fantastic. I love the Cassidy family. They're all really funny. Ellie is a great character. I love Sam and Dean's character work in the episode, and the ending with Sam saying he wants the two to live, to both be okay. It's great. It's inexcusable how long they've taken to get the ball rolling on the trials, but once they finally get the ball rolling, this is awesome. Killing a Hellhound is a sick trial. Finally kicking off one of the better season-long story arcs after season 5. Yeah, no thank you. This one's really bad. There's some pretty heinous implications surrounding the woman in the dog collar the entire episode, and the plot is just so heart-poundingly stupid. What a shit episode. This is such a cool episode. It's got some issues with pacing, but I've always found it really fun, and the guy they got to play Zeus went hard. It's a very funny episode too. Jensen was killing it. Honestly, this should have been an entire arc, and I think my biggest issue with it is that they cram a lot of Greek mythology into a single episode. It could have been even way cooler. The ending of this episode is actually incredible. The climax with Castiel and Dean and Lucifer's crypt, it was all genuinely amazing. I just wish the rest of the episode was nearly as good. The first 20 or so minutes just isn't exciting. Still a very good time. It just ends off better than it starts. And if I was a Destiel fan, this would be the greatest shit ever. Unfortunately, I'm a good writing fan instead. Really cool idea and decent execution. I wish the rest of the characters were as good as Chrissy, but unfortunately they're a little closer to annoying than good. I like the twist even if it's predictable, and I think there's enough good here to salvage it. Not quite up to par with the rest of the back half of season 8, but still pretty good. This is one of the craziest episodes of the entire show for me. It does a lot right. I love the scope of the second trial. Bobby's return is fantastic, and I love the resolution of Benny's arc with Dean. Not to mention Naomi's involvement in the plot is starting to create similar feelings to season 4's dual angel and demon involvements. But man, this episode script is such a mess. Characters sort of just say new rules to the world, and Sam wanders around purgatory for a few hours and finds hell, and then he finds Bobby, and then he sends Bobby up to heaven to complete the trial. It's just like, there's a lot of rushed plotting and everything. Still, I love this episode, I can't lie. It's fun, it's got great character moments, but it legitimately could have been a series best. I'm gonna give it a high score, but that's based purely on enjoyment. Please do not call me a hack. This one's nice. I like the character stuff it does for Charlie. The monster is entertaining, and Sam's deteriorating health is done pretty well. It's a bit of a pace breaker, and I wish it came before Taxi Driver, but it's definitely a good time. Sam being sick is kind of really funny. Like, they shoot parts of this episode in such a stupid and funny way. This one's good though. Metatron is a character that I really grow to hate, but this introduction here isn't terrible, and I actually think it utilizes the character very well. Castiel's story here is the weakest part, unfortunately, but I love how everything is reconnected just in time for the end of the season. What a crazy episode, man. I think it's a little crowded in what it tackles, but everything it does tackle is so cool. I love seeing them dive in the Men of Letters files to find the new exorcism, and seeing them watch and listen to old recordings was so fun. And the idea of curing a demon is so awesome. These videos and movies and stuff they were watching in the Men of Letters made demons so cool again. And Crowley, what the hell, dude? He's one of the most insane villains in the entire show in this episode. It's honestly so fucked up that he's tracking down and killing people that Sam and Dean saved all the way back in season 1. It was genuinely sad to see some of these guys go. If anything, I think it's just way too crowded. It would have done way better if these were two separate ideas, maybe cut out one of the filler episodes, but overall, it was still a really strong penultimate episode. This has always been one of my favorite finales of the entire show. It's such a beautiful storm of emotions and climactic storytelling, and it's right up there with Lucifer Rising in terms of how everything goes down. In fact, in a lot of ways, it's pretty much a carbon copy of that episode. It's hard to be too mad though when it works so well. I love everything in the church with Sam and Crowley. Seeing Crowley be cured and be regretful of his actions was fantastic. And of course, the final scene with Sam and Dean is fantastic. And the ending with the angels falling, I get chills every time. Starts off as messy as season 6 and 7, but it turns into a genuine highlight by the end. It's honestly one of the better post-season 5 seasons, and I think it ends so well and it makes up for that rocky start. Sam and Dean's rift at the beginning is pretty terrible, but once the season completely throws it, Amelia, Benny, and everything that didn't work out in episode 10, it gets a lot better. It's far from the best season of the show, and still probably worse than all of seasons 1 through 5, but it's the best season since season 5. Season 9's premiere wants so badly to be profound, but ends up feeling so dull instead. There's interesting ideas here, but it was already such a crash and burn from the ending of Season 8. The Angels Falling was such a strong cliffhanger, but this episode makes almost every wrong decision regarding it. Sam's story in this episode is also really bad. I used to like it, but it's just very annoying now. It's not given enough time in the episode, and we never really see why Sam wants to stay dead. He literally just quit the trials and gave up so that he could live. And on top of that, I hate Dean's decision. Literally manipulating his brother into saying yes to an angel is the worst thing he ever did in the show. It's actually deplorable, and it will lead to the worst drama the show ever had. It's frustrating watching a season premiere that begins by just undoing all the good stuff the last season did, and it makes every single mistake the season will make. That's Season 9's opening for you though. This one's fine. I've always liked the Abaddon story in Season 9 far more than anything going on with the Angels, but there's still not a lot here that I latch on to. The big climax isn't too thrilling, and it's fine. The season still has absolutely zero tension or any driving energy to it. There's no real story going on here. I liked when Castiel had intercourse. That was pretty funny. Jared's acting is killing me. It's genuinely hilarious how bad he is when he's playing Angel Sam or whatever. This shit is so boring, man. I don't care about the plot. Supernatural needs to go back to having no plots, actually. Just vibes. Hey, vibes! This episode was alright. It's nothing amazing, but it was entertaining enough. I like having a bottle episode set in the bunker, and the way they incorporated everything, from new rooms to Crowley still being locked up, it was fun. I do think adding Wizard of Oz to Supernatural is a little, stupid, and there's still no mention of angels, so that's a plus, but I have to say, dude, Sam has, died or gotten, dinged so many times. In the last, 3 episodes, they do the same thing where Gadriel has to wake back up and heal Sam, and then heal, Castiel in episode 3, and then he healed Charlie in this episode. It's so stupid. I'm pretty sure this is my favorite episode of the season, and it's the one where Dean turns into a dog. It's just such a funny and entertaining episode, and it's such a reprieve from how boring the season has been so far. I can't believe they never revisited what the hell the dog was talking about. The dog at the end says dogs were put on Earth to do what? I gotta find out. They need to bring back Supernatural for season 16 just to answer this question. It's an interesting enough idea for an episode. It's not entirely great. I do think the mechanics of the season are so deeply flawed that it's hard for me to care about any Angel episode. But I think the Angel plot here with the suicide causing Angel or whatever is interesting. And I also appreciated the human Castiel stuff. Some flashback episodes can get a little tiring later on, but I do enjoy this one. It's nothing special, but the stuff with Dean is cool, and the actor playing younger Dean does a really good job. I just wish the monster was more interesting. What do you want me to say? This one's scuffed, man. Weirdly sexist, unfunny. I don't know. Uninteresting. I hate this one. Season 9's main plot is so poorly conceived in so many ways. The Angel War that the description of this episode hypes up amounts to just two characters standing in an alleyway yelling at each other before getting angel bladed. I understand this is a show that portrays conflicts in a much more human way, and that's part of the appeal, but we are just now seeing this Malachi character for the first time. His appearance has no weight, and the entire final 10 minutes is where the episode just completely shatters. The tension evaporates as Kevin pulls a sigil out of his ass of the angel tablet, and it turns out Gadriel just altered the spell, so that instead of powering down Gadriel, it powers him up, and now Sam is out of commission, and after that, Gadriel just kills Kevin. You know, sure. I don't want to sit here and pretend that I loved Kevin or that he was a fantastic character, but what does him dying actually add? This mid-season finale took a season that was already struggling and just threw it down the shitter. I hate this episode. The argument between Sam and Dean at the end of this episode always makes me so upset, and not for the reason that the writers wanted. I don't care that they split up, because I'm no longer emotionally invested in either brother, but it makes me so mad because Dean goes on this long rant about how he's such a monster and hurts everyone around him. And when Sam agrees, Dean's hurt, because Dean was clearly trying to manipulate Sam. On top of that, this episode is so wholly uninteresting. The best scene was when Crowley said he was going to have a campaign for King of Hell against Abaddon and said vote Crowley. They should have just had an election arc in the back half of the season. Like, imagine Crowley popping into the bunker and telling Dean his poll numbers were down. That'd be better than anything else going on this fucking season. Another terrible episode. This is one of the better episodes this season. It's still nothing I'm really impressed by. Dean and Crowley's dynamic is fun, but Kane is so underused in the entire series that it's criminal. The entire episode just feels like fodder lore for the Supernatural wiki. I don't care about Kane being this immortal killing machine demon who leads the Knights of Hell because there's no character to latch onto with Kane. It's a decent episode, but it also introduces the Mark of Cain, which is terrible in this season. And the idea of Kane being able to pass his curse along is already so stupid. This is an alright episode. It has Garth in it, so that's cool. I was never a huge fan of turning him into a werewolf, if only because it was essentially writing the character off the show, but it was a good episode for his character. Donna's addition to the show is why this episode isn't rated lower, but this one's not good. The Fat Suckers are such a wildly terrible villain, and there's some funny enough moments here and again. I like Donna, but her inclusion just can't save the episode. The season's one-off episodes really aren't much better than the plot. Kevin is a ghost in the bunker now because he was unfortunately and needlessly killed, and I don't know. It could have been cool, but it just kind of simmers into nothing. I like getting his mom saved. That was neat. Unfortunately, the stuff with Castiel is literally so bad. Bartholomew is such an incomprehensible and poorly written villain, and the entire Angel War plot is like the most boring thing the show ever did. It just feels straight out of Arrow almost in the way that Bartholomew is written. He shows up, takes Castiel here, gives this pitch about how he just wants Castiel to, you know, go alongside him so they can end the Angel War peacefully. And then he's like, okay, Castiel, now kill your best friend. What? There's some solid ideas here in this Thin Man episode. I talked about it in a whole video, but I don't know. It's boring. The Ghost Facers aren't very good in it. It was an enjoyable episode, kind of silly. Just, I don't know. What's the point? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, is that a good episode? What? It starts out as rough as you'd expect a season 9 episode to be, but it slowly transforms into something really interesting and actually engaging. It deals with the Men of Letters in a cool way with this character Cuthbert Sinclair, who was kicked out of the Men of Letters for being a little too crazy. I think he's such a fun antagonist. I also think this episode is the best showcase of the Mark of Cain plot. I love seeing Dean slowly lose himself, and it really does beg the question of whether or not stopping Abaddon is worth the cost the Mark is taking from him. This would be a way higher score the first 15 minutes or so. Didn't feel like such a season 9 episode, but this is really good. This is actually solid. It was always crazy to me to have 2 good episodes back to back in season 9. But this is great. These aren't one-offs either. These are actually like ongoing plot episodes. They both deal with the Men of Letters in cool ways. I think Sam going on his own hunt was awesome. I love the flashbacks, and seeing Henry again was really cool. And Abaddon creating an army of demons and harnessing souls is such an awesome idea. I love that she's been doing this since 1958, having a demon army ready for her. The stuff with Dean and Crowley is good too. It gives the season this feeling again of whether the cost is worth it. Dean just protected Crowley. That's insane. He has slipped so far, he's almost unrecognizable. Season 9 did good for these 2 episodes. Unfortunately, it will not maintain that. Metatron truly is the worst big bad this show ever had, man. He's so infuriatingly annoying. It's actually interesting because a lot of how the show handles himself is how Chuck handles himself in later seasons, but it's just not done the same. Metatron is so obsessed with what it means to be a writer, and it's just so stupid. I hate how they position this dumbass angel to be the quote new god. There's no weight to anything going on. The false resurrection of Gabriel is so fucking stupid. And I almost forgot how we haven't seen Gadriel in 8 episodes. He should have become the main big bad of the season. There's actually some potential to that storyline. I mean, he's the literal angel that lit the snake into the Garden of Eden, and he's just been written off as some stupid, mediocre character. Quite honestly, one of the most boring and trite episodes of the entire show. I have nothing to say. I zoned out. It's just bad. I'm good. I have no words about Bloodlines. Nothing at all to say. Goodbye. Sometimes a season of TV is so bad that when you get an episode you don't hate, you almost want to rate it higher. I actually found myself somewhat enjoying parts of King of the Damned to a point where I almost thought this episode was good. It wasn't until I looked back at it that I realized how unfocused and rushed the entire episode was. It's got some interesting dynamics and ideas, but ultimately Abaddon's death isn't all that interesting because she's been such a nothing character ever since she was introduced. I like the idea of her and Crowley colluding to team up to stop Dean from coming in with the Mark of Cain, but I don't think anything interesting came of it. Dean's continued struggles with the Mark of Cain are interesting enough, but I'm not sure if that meant we had to have such an underwhelming ending. Castiel's story is so stupid, but I did like his diplomatic meeting with Gadriel. Final scene with Sam and Dean sucked though, and I hate this drama. It's such a decent episode, but it's not going to save the season. This episode felt like glorified filler. This episode drops the dumbest retcon ever on you too about Reapers somehow being angels and then just trucks along until something kind of happens at the end. Utterly lacking in anything that resembles tension, man. Even the worst seasons of Supernatural have some sort of drive right at the end of them. This has nothing. Supernatural's 9th season finale isn't the worst episode of the season, but it is not a good episode. It is the best finale this season could hope for. Episode's broken by the fact that the story is just terrible. Metatron is the show's worst villain, easily, and I cannot take any scene with him seriously in this episode. Perhaps the worst part is this could have been an interesting story idea. Metatron is clearly trying to be a quote new messiah, but it's told in the span of like 2 scenes, and I didn't buy anything that happened. The mob killing the other angel is a bad scene because we have no reason to believe that anyone really believes Metatron is the new god, and the final confrontation between Dean and Metatron is entirely weightless. It doesn't feel climactic, it doesn't feel interesting, and at the end of the day, I'm not sure what else I'd actually have liked. Actually, I know what I would have liked. Dean should have bashed Metatron's skull in and brutally let me watch for 42 minutes. I guess what prevents this episode from being a terrible episode is that there's aspects of it that aren't terrible. Sam and Dean's drama is competently written in this episode, even if it still feels poorly constructed. And I like Gadriel's sacrifice. He wasn't a well-written character, but it's an ending that works for him and gives him some form of purpose, I guess. A mediocre and sloppy finish to the show's worst season. A complete and absolute frustrating mess of a season. The angel plot is just dead on arrival, Metatron is an unwatchable villain, and Dean's choices break both characters and the entire show. There's not even that many decent one-offs to save it, and there's so many bad lore drops that keep it just stuck in such an awful purgatory. There's like 3 really good episodes in the entire season, and that is such a shame. A steep fall from season 8 and worse than anything in season 6 and 7. I'm sorry, but this is the corniest episode ever. Slam's just glumly walking around the bunker and finds a note that says, "Sammy, let me go." And then we cut to Cole working out epically and pouring his breakfast orange juice. There's just so many moments like Dean getting refused to drink and the girl just shakes her head no in such a funny way. Or Sam screaming, "Where's my brother?" in the opening. It's not a terrible premiere, but it's like such a dull and uninspired follow-up to the Demon Dean cliffhanger. I'm surprised how much I actually ended up enjoying this one. I always like when Supernatural does longer arcs like this that open up their seasons, and I think it's one of the cooler parts about a season like 15 later on. This is a lot better than episode 1, but there's still some issues with it, like Cole really is not a good character, and the pacing is just a little off at times. Honestly, it's got a good core to it though, and I really like how long it's taken Sam and Dean to reunite. A lot of interesting ideas here, and most of them are executed quite well. What a complete misfire of a concept. This episode should be great. It should be amazing. But not only is it not amazing, it's not even very good. Too little of the episode is focused on curing Dean of his demon side, and what is focused is just really lazy rehash that doesn't dive into anything with the characters enough to work. There's moments that I like. I think Dean chasing Sam through the bunker was cool, but it didn't really go anywhere great. Jensen delivered a good performance, but in the end it's just such a wash. I also didn't care for anything to do with Castiel and Crowley, just a total snooze fest. If I had been watching this show as it was airing, and I stuck around after season 9, this would have been my breaking point to quit the show. Season 10 hasn't learned a single lesson from season 9. The stories still aren't interesting, the characters are hollow and cyclical and stuck in their own dumb ways. There's cool concepts, but they're just brushed aside. And then I gotta talk about this episode on its own, but it's really bad. The one-offs are still not interesting enough to carry the show episode to episode. I don't give a shit about the characters from Bidden, and much less about the sister of one of these characters. It's just a worthless episode. It's horrifically sobering when it comes to showing just how far the show had fallen by this point. This episode, however, infuses so much love and care back into the show. It's a truly magical 200th episode and one of my favorites of the entire series. I always forget how much I love this one until I get to it. I love how Dean gets into the school play by the end. I think all the characters involved with the play are well done, and the entire episode is one of the funniest of the entire show. If I had one critique, it's that maybe the episode is a little too tuned into the fan base, and that could drive away fans of the show that aren't super keyed into the fan base and the culture of it. But even still, it's more so a continuation of the meta stuff from seasons 4 and 5. And in that regard, it feels right at home in those seasons. This is one of those episodes that if done in, say, season 2, would have been an all-timer. Done in season 10, I actually think it's pretty fun. It's been a long time watching the show since I got to watch a really, really fun one-off episode, but this one's great. I love the humor, the mystery is solid, and it's a really nice package altogether. This is such a bizarrely written episode of the show. At its core, it's a genuinely interesting look into angels and the lives they live by interrupting and taking a vessel. I actually think this part is the one success of the episode that keeps it from being downright bad. Hannah and Castiel's scenes are really, really well done, and it concludes pretty well. The rest is not good though. Rowena turns into a pretty great character later on in the show, but her introduction here is so half-assed that it doesn't work for me. She's not interesting, the demon plot is mid and boring, and I don't care about Raoul's girls. And then they throw Cole into it too, like the episode needed any more going on. We have the Castiel and Hannah stuff, we have Rowena's entrance, and now Cole is here, and they decide to throw all these plots into the season and then resolve 2 of them. Cole is resolved, and Hannah and Castiel's plot is resolved. And it's baffling because it's episode 7, and they toss out so much of the plot going forward, and the rest of the season is just filler. I appreciate building the Wayward Sister character slowly, and it's really fun to have Donna and Jody meet, but I honestly just felt bored by most of the episode. The show really needs to retire vampires because they've sucked every single time since like season 1. This one's fine. I like that the show remembered the Mark of Cain exists. I'll never understand why the writers kept it around after curing him of being a demon if it wasn't going to be important. They barely even mentioned it until this episode, to the point where we have to have a memory flashback of his time with the Mark to remind us. I just wish this felt more impactful, I guess. The stuff with Castiel and Claire is fine, and it's altogether a fine episode, but it doesn't feel like a big mid-season episode. One thing I actually do like about this season, for the most part, is that Dean's not a complete and total asshole. I like that he actually wants to fight the mark, to remove it. And sure, it's essentially a retread of season 3 with him learning that he wants to escape his demon deal, but I vastly appreciate this over his annoying ass characterization in season 9. The rest of the episode is really whatever. I don't like Metatron. I think some of the aspects are okay though. His involvement is fine. I like seeing Dean torture him, but the Claire stuff was pointless. Could have done without her in the episode. Solid enough time. I never really loved Oz being canon to the supernatural universe, and I don't really care for quote-unquote Dark Charlie. It's not a bad episode at all, but it's far from a good one. Season 10 is better than Season 9, I won't deny that, but it's also just settled into such a monotonous mediocrity. Hey, this one's so incredibly fun, honestly. I always forget about it, but when I get to it, it's such a good time. The idea of Dean being a kid again is a great idea, especially for this season, and the actor who plays young Dean does such a great job alongside Jared. If I had one complaint, it's that the witch in it isn't exactly the most exciting villain of the episode. She's not bad, it just didn't do much for me. Back when I first watched this show for the first time in 2016, it was this episode that I thought was the first bad Supernatural episode. Now that's a big deal for me because I was like 14 at the time and I liked pretty much everything I consumed. Even my least favorite seasons of the show at that point I thought were just okay. But not this one. This one I hated. I hate it less nowadays, but that's because it's just so damn silly and dumb. Why is there a ghost in the Wi-Fi? That's the dumbest shit ever. Dean is written so hilariously out of character here too. You're telling me that he doesn't understand the concept of Siri? And then they talk down a ghost over FaceTime? This has become a parody episode for me. This is the episode I go to when describing quote-unquote bad Supernatural. It's a masterclass in its own right, but it is a terrible episode. I know this one's so beloved by fans, and every time I watch it I try and give it credit, but man, it's never worked for me. It has such a huge tonal issue. It feels like the finale of an arc we never got, like they just pivot to this out of nowhere, and it's being treated as Dean's final stand. The issue is there's no weight to it. There's no weight because we haven't seen Kane since episode 11 of last season. There's no weight because Dean hasn't really seemed like he's struggled much for these past few episodes. And there's no weight because he genuinely does leave the fight the same way he entered it, even though they keep saying he's not going to. It's not a bad episode. I like Kane a lot. I think the fight itself is really strong and the character dynamics work. But I don't know. It feels like a huge turning point, but it's not. The end of the episode was Sam telling Castiel that Dean needs help right now, but he's just acting like he always does. It's like one step forward and 2 steps back with season 10. For every decent or good episode, there's another one that's so mind-numbingly mediocre that I'm confused how they even came up with something so uninteresting. Cole never turned into a good character, the con worm genuinely never needed to return, and this whole thing is just so stupid. This one's just offensively boring. No notes. This one shouldn't have been made. Hey, this one's really good. The sheer concept of Sam and Castiel using Bobby and Heaven to bring Metatron out is so awesome, and the execution is nearly as great as I'd like. There's a few bits that suffer, but that's mainly from the fact that Heaven in the show isn't that visually exciting. The subplot with Crowley and Rowena progresses in a great way, and I love that scene with Crowley and Dean. And I love Sam and Castiel making Metatron into a dumb little tool. I guess it's a little frustrating how they don't achieve much from this episode aside from breaking out Metatron. But that's the point, right? Sam is going so far in each episode in an attempt to save Dean. He's basically damned Bobby in Heaven now. And all for what? I guess Castiel's grace. It's compelling seeing Sam go so far. Holy shit, 2 good episodes in a row. I think this one's a little worse than the last, but it ends in a really strong way, so it's not too big of an issue for me. The worst part is the Castiel and Metatron plot just wasn't all that interesting. It starts fine, but the library subplot was a bit too much of a video game plot for me, with them following clues left in books. I do love Cass getting his grace back, that was raw. I really do like the idea of the Book of the Damned too. The show genuinely makes it feel so dark and fucked up, like it's a true evil that should have been burned and thrown off the face of the planet. Good time. And again, Sam stealing the book and making sure it survived at the end is another good setup for his character going off the rails. This one's really good. You know me, I love the Men of Letters, and the episodes that focus on them especially. Cuthbert Sinclair was a really cool addition to Season 9, and the Werther box is so cool. This is easily my favorite non-200th episode of the season so far. Really fun time. I think the climax is a little quick, especially the resolution, but there's just so much good here anyways. I love the twist of Rowena not being there. That was really cool. And I really should hate that Sam is keeping so many secrets, but the execution of it this time is actually so compelling. Sam is a loose cannon right now, and it's genuinely wild watching him go this far. This one's solid. It has that typical seasons 8 through 11 era issue of interrupting a streak of plot episodes with a decent one-off, but it's got nice ties back to earlier episodes and it ends off the Claire story in a decent way. Nothing too great, but a good time. A lot of elements do work in this episode, but it doesn't all come together in a very satisfying way for me. The Steins aren't nearly as interesting here as they were in episode 18, but they're still cool, I guess. I just wish the episode sold its tension more. There's a great moment as Dean silently pieces everything together, and I really love his confrontation with Sam. I don't hate Charlie dying, but I don't like how she dies. It's a compelling direction to take the season in, and I like Sam's overboard arc, but it just didn't hit the way they wanted. It's a good time and moves the story forward and has a lot of standout moments, especially with Sam and Dean's characterization, but ultimately it's not as strong as I'd have liked. I actually really like this one. It feels like a strong payoff to a lot of arcs throughout the season. Dean returning to season 9 Mark of Cain characterization actually makes sense and is a satisfying turn of events because he spent so much of the season fighting it. The final parts of this episode are terrific. Dean tearing through the Steins is so damn cool, and the fight scene between him and Castiel in the bunker was crazy. I actually love the scenes with Crowley too. He spent the last 2 seasons basically trying to be better, and what does he get? Sam Winchester trying to kill him. This is a great penultimate episode for the season, probably my favorite episode of the season that's not fanfiction. It takes a little too long to get going, and the Oscar stuff with Crowley and Rowena isn't the best, but the finale does a really solid job of resolving season 10, and it's way better than you'd expect it to be when you're watching the earlier parts of the season. It's still a little too tropey, and it feels like every other Jeremy Carver finale, but it's got a big enough reveal, and I like how everything goes. It's a huge upswing for the end of season 10. Supernatural season 10 is a sluggish, often middling season that never fully recovers from the damage that season 9 committed, but it slowly starts finding its footage again. The first half is a frustrating mess of cornball melodrama and undercooked concepts with a directionless myth arc, and it's saved only by rare standouts like fanfiction or Ask Jeeves. The back half develops a solid rhythm though. I actually like the Mark of Cain paying the character forward, and we get in sharper arcs, and I really do like Sam's loose cannon arc. Nothing quite reaches jaw-dropping levels, but it ends pretty well. It's a season of slow healing, not triumph, and it might honestly be the second best season since season 5. Like, I'd probably slot this right under season 8 right now, but that's still kind of sad because it wasn't all that good. Whew. Just checking in for a brief moment. What a disappointing follow-up to the first 5 seasons, am I right? There's definitely some good in seasons 6 through 10, but man, most of it just feels kinda underwhelming. I mean, I know some people like season 9, but that's easily the low point of the entire show for me. And there's just not much to latch onto. I like the introduction of the middle letters in season 8, I like a lot of the ideas in season 7, and again, the trials in season 8 were a highlight of the show. But there's just so much else I don't care for. The Mark of Cain, the Angel War, Metatron, it's just such a huge mixed bag, and I feel like the show was confused and too scared to do anything new, while also struggling to keep fans interested in what was going on. I know some people might disagree, but I actually really like the next chunk of seasons up until the end of the show. So let's go ahead and dive into season 11 after I attend the funeral for my editor. Season 6 through 10 were not kind to him. As enjoyable as I found the back third of season 10, the show is still suffering from a lot of poor writing choices, especially with its characters. This episode really seems like it wants to fix a lot right out of the gate though. This is the most tension-filled and driven season premiere since season 5. It doesn't quite hit those heights, it's a little slow at times, it has some poor editing, and I'm also not a huge fan of the Crowley stuff, but what this episode gets right is fantastic. It really feels like everything is screwed up and it's them against impossible odds. I'm so excited to get into season 11. Excluding the 200th episode, this is the best episode of the show in seasons. Like genuinely, this is the first time the show has been this good in a plot episode since the season 8 finale. I love the conflict with Sam and the Rabbids. It's actually terrific and such a high point for Sam as a character, watching him save all those people on his own. The episode builds up the darkness as such a scary, intense force, and I love the scenes with Hannah and Castiel a lot. And the character stuff with Dean and Crowley was also just great. This is the first time in forever that all the plot and character stuff are just so good. There's a lot of great moments here, but I don't know if I really needed an entire episode about resolving the Castiel plot. It's still good. Rowena's dynamic with Sam and Dean is fun, and Crowley raising Amara as a kid is great. I just wish it had a sharper script. You know, between this and fanfiction, Robbie Thompson might be one of the best writers the show ever had. This is easily one of the best episodes of the entire show. Not only is it inventive and beautifully shot, but it's such a gorgeous examination of Sam and Dean's characters. I adore every second of this 42-minute journey. So good, man. One of the episodes that makes the journey here worth it. Just a golden chapter, one of my favorite episodes of TV, period. This is a really cool episode, man. What starts like a normal Monster of the Week episode morphs into a really cool plot-adjacent episode. I think Lynn is a really fun character, and the episode dives more into soulless people and what that means for them, and it pushes the arc forward. It's only held back by some slow moments here and there and a pretty telegraphed twist at the end. Still, I've always loved how the season handles the myth episodes alongside the one-offs. It makes it really, really cool to watch. I always forget how deeply serialized this season is at the start. It's probably the most story-focused since season 5, and it makes sense because of how big of a threat the darkness is. Even an episode like Baby pushed forward the momentum of the story in a nice way. This one's really cool because it's probably one of the closest things Supernatural has to a two-parter other than the season 2 finale. I genuinely love how so many aspects carry over from the last episode. Sam and Dean stay in one location, there's this detective guy that's in both. It's all really cool. This one develops Amara, and it has Sam and Dean finding Crowley's lair, which is a really, really cool thing that they haven't done yet. I even like the stuff with Metatron and Castiel a lot. It's a great moment for Castiel's character, and it finally resolves Metatron. For now, at least. This one's fine. It's very season 1 in its delivery, but the problem is that it retains none of the style and flair of season 1, so it doesn't come across as well. Definitely not a bad episode, but it's not the greatest thing. Donna adds a lot to it, though. This is another one of those episodes that if it had been done in the earlier seasons, it'd be one of the best for the show. As is, it's still really great. There's a lot of great character work for Sam. I love how the Xana and imaginary friends is weaved into the episode. I just wish the central plot of the episode was a bit more engaging. Definitely a great episode though. I always love watching this one, especially as a Sam fan. This episode is so damn good. You wade through multiple episodes of trash and seasons just to get to it. Season 11 has been really, really good so far, no doubt about that. But it's this one and the next one that truly highlight just how good this season is and how much the show has righted itself. Everything about this episode is fantastic. It finally crafts Amara into the really strong villain that she becomes. Her scenes with Dean are so good, and I love her scenes at the beginning of the episode too, where she's looking for God. It pays off the Sam Visions plot really well, and the scenes with Lucifer are iconic. Genuinely some of the best character work for Sam, and such a terrific episode in general. Strong follow-up to the prior episode, even if it's not as strong. I love the scenes with Lucifer and Sam. I think it really highlights all the writing choices that went wrong with his character after season 7. I also love Sam not giving in and telling Lucifer no. It's really, really cool. The stuff surrounding the cage plot isn't as good, and that's what drags the episode down, but it's all really solid. It's a ton of fallout, but it's good fallout, even if it's slow at times. Hey, this is a fun time. I like the setting and the characters are great. Mildred's really fun and Eileen is a great character gets introduced here. It's the definition of a breather episode, and it was needed after the deep mythology of episodes 9 and 10. And I think Sam's apology at the end was great, apologizing for not looking for Dean in season 8. It's almost amazing, but I always feel like the climax wasn't as well done as the rest of the episode. It's a little too exposition heavy. That said, this is honestly a better Wayward Sisters backdoor pilot than the one we get in season 13. It genuinely sells the lived-in world of Sioux Falls and improves the character dynamics of Jody, Alex, and Claire. I love all the character stuff in here. It's genuinely terrific and really funny. It's a great time. I always look forward to this one. Solid time, this one. I think the episode is a little flimsy at points in its delivery, but there's some fun moments. It just sort of ends up with a face-off against a witch, and that was less interesting than if it had actually been a shapeshifter. That being said, I like the stuff with Dean in this climax. What an awesome episode. Every season has its own Men of Letters centric episode. Hell, season 12 even has its own Men of Letters centric storyline. But this is probably my favorite. It combines a ton of cool elements with time travel, Men of Letters, the Lucifer reveal. It's so awesome. I really do like Sam working with who he thinks is Castiel, and it's a fun scene, and with the reveal at the end, just a great episode. This one's solid. I never think much about it other than the fact that it feels like the first one-off in the show to truly dedicate the entire B-plot to moving the main story along. I like the structure, makes the episode feel important. Kinda hurts this one because I'd like to see more of Castiel looking for Hands of God, but I don't know, this one was fine. I don't mean this in a joking way at all. I think this episode deserved an Emmy for its editing. The way they cut back and forth between Sam and Dean and Bobby and Rufus in it is genuinely fantastic. It creates such a fun rhythm that the episode carries throughout it. I also love the monster. The Soul Eater is such a badass concept. I love that it exists outside of time. And the nest is such a cool location that turns this into one of the scarier episodes of the show's later years. If I have anything that keeps this episode from being a perfect episode, it's that it does fall into the trap of a lot of episodes, where the middle is just an exposition dump. As cool as the Men of Letters are, sometimes their lore really is just an excuse for Sam and Dean to dump exposition on us. Still, fantastic episode. Did a script from season 2 or 4 slip into the cracks of someone's car and they just found it during season 11? This is such a throwback. The vibes, the way the episode is shot, the actual narrative, it's genuinely like I just time traveled back to the early years. I love this episode so much. The pacing, the editing, the format, and obviously the scenes with Billy and Dean. It's such an inventive and unique episode and one I always look forward to every time I get to season 11. This also has to be one of the most badass Sim Winchester episodes. Dude kicked ass with a bullet wound. This season has such an awesome main plot, man. This episode almost makes up for the fact that the season just sort of hits pause on the arc for 7 or so episodes, but we're so back. Lucifer is so awesome here. I love the Amara and Rowena stuff, and the plot with trying to rescue Castiel was so cool. Banger episode. This one's fine. I have nothing to say about it other than it completely ruins the pace of the season. Utterly unenjoyable and I guess decent time. I don't know. Let's move on. Brilliant episode. This is one of the most well-written and poignant episodes of the entire show. It does so much to define Chuck, not only as a tired god, but as a very human god. He's narcissistic but kind, he's wrathful but fair. Throughout the years, I've always felt like a twist with this character later on in the show was out of nowhere, but it was always here, just buried. Metatron's character is finally given weight. You understand him just as well as you understand God. He's just wanting attention. He was chosen to be God's scribe, and in doing so he believed he was something to God. But in reality, he's nothing. And the ending is gorgeous. One of my favorite endings in the entire show, revealing that the Samulet was always in Sam's pocket, that he saved it from Dark Side of the Moon until now. So much happened in this episode, and all of it is so fun. I love the introduction of Donatello. Metatron gets one of the craziest redemption arcs in fiction, and he finally dies. The stakes feel so damn crazy, and everything with Chuck is fantastic. If it wasn't for the slow start, this would be a perfect episode for me. I like the idea of Lucifer and God hashing things out, but it sort of saps some of the tension out of the episode at the start. The rest of it though, fan-fucking-tastic. Such a tense and exciting penultimate episode. I love how it sets up the scenes of Sam and Dean and Lucifer recruiting different factions, and the way it's all paced is so good. And the climax, oh, it's amazing. This episode at its core is an inert anticlimax, but that's kind of the point. This is one I've come around on so much since I first watched it. The first time I watched it, I was pretty unamused. I thought it was anticlimactic, and it is. I thought it made a last-minute swerve and threw out the storyline at the end. It did. But it's done in such a way that I can't really be upset by it. The dialogue is great, the story being told is really strong, and I love that the season ends with a reconciliation amongst gods, rather than another explosive battle where one of the brothers dies. There are issues, but it's mainly just one issue. I don't like the British Men of Letters setup. She gets like 4 scenes of introduction, and I don't mind the cliffhanger at the end, set your season up and do what you want, but I never understood the point of having her seated throughout. Otherwise, a damn good finale for a damn good season. Season 11 is such a wild comeback, especially after the messy sprawl of Season 10. From the tension of that premiere to Form and Void delivering one of Sam's best plots, to Baby being an all-timer, and then you got Oh Brother Where Art Thou and Don't Call Me Shirley. Just non-stop bangers. I love this season. It's genuinely right up there with seasons 4 and 5. I've always really liked this premiere. It's got such a chaotic vibe to it. Mary's back, Castiel is blazing through the sky as a meteorite, Sam is being tortured and thinks his brother's dead. It's all really cool. Not to mention Lucifer is hopping from body to body, and I like how very little is resolved at the end of the episode. You sort of get to live in the chaos of another episode. The British Men of Letters plot could have been a little bit stronger. In a lot of ways, it feels like a repeat of the premiere, but I still enjoy it for the most part. I just wish they'd brought Dean in sooner to it. I think it could have changed some stuff up. The rest of the episode hits though. The Lucifer stuff is super cool. I love the emotional beats with their mom, and the whole ending is really strong. This one's functional. I like the events that happen in the B plot with Lucifer a lot, but I feel like the episode is really lacking in a forward drive. This really shouldn't have been a Monster of the Weekend plot hybrid. Finding Lucifer should be all hands on deck, and I have no idea why Sam and Dean don't feel that way. I do like the subplot with Lucifer, Rowena, and Cass and Crowley a lot, and it's what holds this episode together. It just doesn't feel like there's enough of an oomph to the overall plot. Like, we should be focusing more on Lucifer. This is such an awesome episode. I've always really loved it. I like that Sam and Dean aren't dressed up as FBI the entire time. That's the first time in forever. And I love how they go from priests to social workers and just try and really get involved in the case. It genuinely felt like an early season episode. The setting was great. I love the antagonist. It's a good Sam-centric episode as well. This is one of the stupidest episodes in the entire show, but I love it. I can't say it's a fantastic episode because the writing is pretty sloppy here and there, but this is the embodiment of this era of Supernatural. It's a stupid sequel to Season 8's Everybody Hates Hitler, and it's really cool they brought Aaron back from that episode. Hitler saying, "I sold 5 million copies of Mein Kampf, imagine what I can do with Twitter," is actually haunting. Very fun episode. I've always found this one super entertaining. I love when Supernatural dives into the world of hunters, and I enjoyed seeing it here. I wish some of the hunters survived to come back later down the line and fight the Brits, but this is still a really fun time. The demon was also pretty fun, and Asa was a solid springboard for the episode. This episode, like most of season 12 so far, I just think is so fun. There's not much beneath the hood here, although I do think Lucifer is very interesting in the way that he just doesn't have a plan anymore. But it's all packaged in such an exciting and enjoyable way. I love Sam and Dean in LA. Lucifer is actually terrifying here. I love Misha's portrayal a lot, but I think Springfield's elevates it to just kind of being scary again. I think it deserves more love. Just an overall blast of an episode. Maybe a bit slow here and there, but a really fun time. Lucifer has possessed the President of the United States and sired a child that'll become the most powerful being in existence. And then Sam and Dean are arrested for attempted assassination of the president. Welcome to season 12. This is such a good episode. I love the concept of it. It's such a natural and obvious idea, and I wish it had more time to breathe. I think this should have been a two-parter. But what we get is still so much fun and genuinely very well written. I think the Brits are a little poorly introduced, but it's still a really damn fine episode and my favorite of season 12 so far. It's entertaining, but I don't know. Something about it has always just felt off. There's a lot of really great moments, but I think it's just a case in one of those episodes where it takes place over such a long period of time that you just lose mental track of things and this episode just sort of fizzles out. I do love the last final 5 minutes or so, which is what saves it. Castiel killing Billy is sick, and I love his speech at the end about how he cares for all of them. I do think them saying that solitary confinement was worse than being in hell was stupid, but you know, whatever, I guess. Overall, solid enough episode. It's just not as great as I want it to be every time I rewatch it, especially coming off the last one. This episode kind of made angels cool again. Feels like an older episode the way angels are framed as these actual warriors that are powerful and scary. Isham was a solid villain, and I like the emphasis on Castiel. I actually like Castiel a lot this season. He seems like he's growing more human, not only in his speaking and personality, but also in his emotions. It's long overdue for this to be where his character is at. I don't want to keep referring to episodes in this era as classic, but this reminds me of season 11's Red Meat, where it literally feels like this was misplaced from seasons 3 or 4. Fantastic episode. It almost acts as a spiritual successor to season 4's Yellow Fever, being that, something happens to Dean and we get to watch his transformation. It's got perhaps the best performance from Jensen Ackles in a long time. This is one of the coolest episodes of the entire show. The writing is some of the snappiest I've seen in the past 12 seasons, the direction from Richard Speight Jr. is incredible, and the overall pacing is so damn fun. Not to mention, Ramiel is just such a cool antagonist, and bringing back and shedding lights on the yellow-eyed demons is the coolest shit ever. Just an overall amazing package. I really wish that the hunter Wally had survived though. This is a season that's ultimately building toward a confrontation of hunters, and this is the second episode where they've killed off a new American hunter. I still adore this episode. My favorite of season 12. What a bafflingly written episode. It's not terrible, but it's got so much crammed into it that I've never understood it. I don't have an issue with putting a myth arc B-plot into a monster episode, but I've never understood why there's 3 of them here. The main plot with Sam, Dean, Rowena, and Gavin is fine. It's nothing terrible. It's actually got some interesting ideas, but the subplots are all weird. Crowley and Lucifer's is terrible. I never like how they keep Lucifer around after Lucifer of the United States. I don't mind that they do, but this episode explains it in such a silly way. It also makes Crowley so stupid. Then there's Dagon tracking down Kelly, who's pregnant with Lucifer's baby, and it amounts to 2 scenes. And then there's Mary and Ketch, and I don't know. Just a weird, throw it all together kind of episode. Worst one of season 12 so far. This is a fun time. It'd be even better if they didn't do a dumb flashback sequence at the end to explain how Sam got bullets for the cult. Still, I do really, really like this one. It's a nice bit of story for the season, and I feel like it's a really cool base under siege moment. This is a fun one. I like the main plot, but the B plots were definitely stronger here, and I think that makes it a little uneven. I did really like Crowley in this one, though. I think this is the best he's been in a couple of seasons. It's nice seeing him as a genuine ally on a case of the week, and he also had actually good scenes with Lucifer. As much as I had issues with Lucifer's motive staying in the story, the scenes with him are pretty well done in this episode, and the reveal that the body they put Lucifer in is a new cage is a great fix for the dumbness of the original reveal that they scrounged up Nick as a vessel. All this being said, you can really tell they're running out of ideas for Crowley and Lucifer. He's either been completely absent from the season, and now he's fully redeemed. And I don't mind it, but he's going to go through the same scene over and over and over with Lucifer in the next several episodes. This episode succeeds in character moments where it otherwise fails in plot development. I genuinely love the stuff with Mick Davies here, and I wish it had more time in the season to marinate. He's really fun. I think it's a great time, but it's a little too slow at points, and Claire is solid, but she just doesn't have the right oomph, and curing werewolfism is just as stupid as curing vampirism. This one's really fun. I like seeing the Nephilim plot and the British Men of Letters plots converge. They've been a little too disconnected throughout the season, and it was fun to see what it did for Kelly's character throughout. I also really liked having Eileen back. It started rough. The initial scene of Kid Mick Davies killing his classmate on orders is always funny to me, but I like the story developments with Mick enough. I think that maybe he died a little too soon, but his death is a great moment to show how deep in it the Brits are, especially Ketch. It was a nice contrast between the two. Nah, this one ain't it. Every time I rewatch this season, I hope this one will click, but it just never does. There's nothing to it. I actually see this one frequently praised, but it's so boring. I love the ending discussion with Sam and Dean, and it's the only reason I don't think this episode is downright bad. Good time. It's a bit slow to start, but I like where things end up a lot. It transitions the season into a nice spot, and I think the Castiel and Dean drama is pretty well done. Nice climax, too. Dagon was fun, but I'm glad they wrapped her up when they did. This was a really, really solid episode. I don't like where it's placed exactly. I think it could have come an episode earlier, but it's solid. Alicia and Max are really fun characters. The episode is pretty scary in its execution, and the creepy twig creatures are really, really cool. The relevant B-plot makes these episodes' placement work a little bit better, but again, replace this in last episode, and I think the season has a better pacing to it. Yeah, this one's not very good. There are good ideas here, maybe some writing decisions I kinda sorta like, but it's still really sloppily put together. The Brits are at max annoyingness here. I generally still like these characters in the storyline, but they just bugged the shit out of me in this one. Especially Dr. Hess and Lady Tony Bevel. What the fuck are these characters doing, bro? These are the worst characters of the British Middle Ages. When people say they hate the Brits, they mean these guys. And then Lucifer is like reversing the polarity so he can control Crowley. What? This is a great example of how a season that's otherwise fun can really come undone when there's not a truly great story arc that can bind it together. Not a good episode. Now that is what I'm talking about. That's an episode of Supernatural. I've been nice to season 12. I genuinely do enjoy it quite a bit, but it has a very jumbled myth arc. It's gotten really slow for the past several episodes, but it concludes everything to do with the Brits very well. I think this episode's why I end up liking the plot so much. I love the final raid on their compound. I love Sam taking charge as a leader. I wish we had more recognizable faces, but it is what it is, and I think the fight scenes we get are really, really cool. And I love the stuff with Dean and Mary. It is absolutely fantastic. Jensen kills it, the writing is amazing, and it centers the entire season around this family. The season finale of season 12 isn't high art or anywhere close to the best finale the show has done, but it's pretty fun, and I think it delivers a compelling close to the season while setting up a more interesting season 13. It's in a weird spot where this honestly feels like it could have worked as the season 13 premiere, but I think this is a really cool one. The alternate universe is awesome, the showdown with Lucifer is fun, and the whole thing has this feeling of a countdown to the inevitable that I really do like. The deaths are cool too. I know they don't stick, but they really do add to the insanity of the episode, and I really like the resolution to most of the season. It's far from the greatest season of the show, but it's still a season I really have grown to enjoy. It's right in the middle of my overall ranking, and that's because there's a lot better to the show, but there's also a lot worse. The season gets by on banger episode concepts though, and I love so much of what the season shoots for, and I think the first half, roughly episodes 1 through 12, is genuinely really strong. It's a solid season that I think shines more as a collection of episodes than it does as a season-long story. I appreciate this episode a lot. It's a lot slower paced, and I like that, because it really gets you to live in the world that's been created after the season 12 finale. The grief and hopelessness that these two feel right now is compelling. They've lost everything and everyone, and they've got nothing except the devil's kid. I think Jack is also great. I love the two perspectives that Sam and Dean take. I think this entire thing is a really solid, subdued premiere. I could have done with some better villains, as I'm so over Angels at this point. But yeah, I really like this. Of all the two-part premieres in Supernatural, I've always really liked this one because it genuinely feels like a single story. I like how most of it's just dialogue and talking, and I think there's a ton of great moments here. It's a little slow at points, and Asmodeus is not a good villain at all, but I think it's a really, really good episode. This is such an utter disappointment of an episode. I wish bringing back Missouri Mosley didn't put her in an episode where she was just going to die alongside a dull villain of the week plot. All this episode is setting up is the Wayward Sisters stuff, and it's fine. It's just a low point for the season. It's got cool elements. I like all the stuff with Sam and Jack, and Dean's arc is still rock solid so far, but I don't know. It's just uninteresting. I have always loved this episode, man. It aired right after I lost my grandmother, and we decided to watch the newest episode of Supernatural while in town for the funeral, and we got hit with this one. An episode focused entirely on grief and not getting to say goodbye to a loved one. It's such a fantastic character episode, it almost makes you forget how not as good the villain is. Still, this episode's all about grief and the character work for Sam and Dean. That is the main plot, and Jack gets a great arc in it as well. And in that regard, it's damn good. Also, Castiel literally annoys himself back to life, so I can't not love this episode. The prior episode focused entirely on grief, and this one's also focused on that, but it takes the show in such a bizarre and awesome direction. I love Dean's character arc in this season so far. It feels like a better version of his season 7 arc. Him going into the Vale was so cool. I love his scenes with Billy. It's just an awesome episode. Even the ghost plot that they were dealing with before Billy is introduced is cool. Ending it with a montage set to Steppenwolf's It's Never Too Late makes it all the better. This one's fun. For the bulk of it, it's a nice reprieve from the more serious vibes of the season. The main plot isn't anything cool or anything, but Dean's reaction to the cowboy stuff is fantastic character work, and the way the episode pivots into becoming a plot episode by the end was really fun. This is one of the best times to show how dangerous Jack can end up being. This is a wild episode, man. In later seasons of the show, sometimes they have these plot episodes where they take every disparate idea and toss them into a single episode, attempting to create an episode to streamline the narrative. It doesn't always work, but this one I don't mind. There's so much happening though, and not all of it is of the same quality. Most of it's pretty entertaining, but the worst part is everything to do with Ketch. I don't get why they brought this character back. This is a really fun heist episode that's so close to being great, but I think it's let down by the villains just not being good. I still always have a fun time with it, but it grinds to a halt in its third act, and they achieve nothing in the episode. Wouldn't bother me usually, but the entire episode is supposed to be about getting the tracking spell for Jack, and then they don't get it. It's bizarre, especially since the next episode they reunite with Jack, so it would have worked just fine. This is a really solid mid-season finale. The return of Jack is welcome, the plot is ramping up in a solid way, and I love the introduction of the Dreamwalkers. This was a better episode in the past. I used to give this a lot higher, but knowing what comes next, I'm always a little let down. This is a really good episode, but it's always let down by its placement. I really wanted to see Sam and Dean battle the big crazy monkey monster, and we didn't get that. I wish season 13 hopped around the multiverse a little bit more. That would have been good filler content. Still, this episode really highlights the strength of these wayward sister characters, and I wish the spinoff happened because it genuinely could have grown into something awesome. This is a solid time, it's just a little too slow in spots, and I don't like how it didn't follow up on the cliffhanger of season 13, episode 9. What an excellent episode. It's gotta be one of Supernatural's darkest, but it's just fantastic. The direction is incredible, I love the color grading, it really fits the aesthetic. And the entire episode just feels like it's designed specifically to make me like it. One I always look forward to, and probably the standout of season 13. I don't know, just the fact that it feels like it's a genuine serial killer case, and I don't know, I love this type of shit. Another really great episode. It's hilarious, for one. Jensen Ackles delivers an amazing performance when he's under the love spell, and even afterwards, he's delivering lines one after another in such a fun way. But I really love how this episode seamlessly weaves itself into serious drama and character work. The episode redefines Rowena. The second she comes back, she is a completely different character, and I love it. It's such a stark change, and it makes her death and resurrection actually matter. Her scene with Sam talking about Lucifer in the car was just fantastic. It was also an incredible look into Sam after all these years, and I appreciate that immensely. It's episodes like this and what they do with Castiel that make me actually love these resurrections. Rowena's resurrection sets her on an arc that will redeem her character, and Castiel's resurrection introduced the empty. These are meaningful deaths and resurrections in my opinion. The plotting of this season is so funny. I don't think it's bad or anything, but this is the first episode to really move the plot since episode 7, which was also written by these same writers. Again, the episode takes all the disparate plot threads and weaves them into an episode that pushes things forward. This one's cool though, because I really like how it handles the plot that's going on. Lucifer as a human is actually really interesting. It's funny to see him goof around and be humiliated, but on top of that, it's fun to watch him get a little bit more grounded. I like the scene where he talks to NIL about who he really is. I thought it was cool. This is a really, really good time. I'd like it a lot more if the Apocalypse World stuff was better. It's not terrible, but it takes such a predictable turn that I don't like it that much. Alternate Bobby is cool, but Jim Beaver really phones it in and the performance becomes laughable at times. The stuff with Donatello though is terrific and grounds the episode in solidly great territory. I really love how the show handles the demon tablet and him being soulless. The actor plays the creepy and perverted Donatello so damn well, and I love Castiel doing what needed to be done. This is one of my favorite seasons for his character. This is a really fun time. One of the rare episodes of the show to not include a single supernatural creature, but it's better for it. It's a genre reinvention that you can only really get away with in season 13. This is such a fantastic episode. It fits right up there with classics like Changing Channels. It's such a crazy and out there wacky episode that both understands its existence as a supernatural episode while also being a love letter to Scooby-Doo. One of the funniest episodes too. Even the live action stuff hits.
What are you doing?
I really wish I liked this one more. I love the idea of Yokoth and Glithier, but unfortunately the episode just does not focus on them or the Men of Letter stuff enough to be interesting. What's there is a little too slow moving to be good, and the stuff with Ketch and Asmodeus is so boring. I also think it's pretty odd how the episode is paced in the season-long narrative. I was about to commend the show for not taking too long to go on this spell fetch quest to find everything, but this episode just straight up ends with them going to the apocalypse world, and it ended up feeling super fast and rushed. Not a bad episode, there's some really good moments, but overall it's just a very uninteresting time. And this completes the trilogy of season 13 plot episodes that cram everything at once into 42 minutes. Much like the prior 2 episodes, I like it. It's cramped, the stuff in Apocalypse World is fun though, and I think this episode does a lot to make me like Ketch's character. Stuff with Gabriel is cool though. I'm glad Asmodeus is finally dead. Honestly, such an introspective and thoughtful episode. Rowena is a terrific character now. I love her plans. I love how they rope her into the team. The whole time that she's killing Reapers to get Death's attention to bring back Crowley was so cool because she used to hate that guy. It's such a fantastic transformation for her. I love it so much. And the stuff with Castiel in Heaven is pretty good. I love how dire things feel right now, and while Naomi's return is whatever, the episode really handled its plot points perfectly. I don't mind the ideas of this episode, but it didn't really feel necessary. I just don't care about the Norse Pantheon or Gabriel's fights with them. I like the Apocalypse World story a lot more, but that one wasn't that great either. Both plots start well, and the main story is pushed forward by the end, but this just wasn't an episode I was all that interested in. This is probably the first time this season that Lucifer actually 100% works for me. I like him throughout the season, but this is the first time that he's treated like the character that I know he could be after season 5. I just love this one, man. I love the journey to Apocalypse World. Sam's death and resurrection by Lucifer is so fucked up, but I love it. And the whole thing is just damn good. This one starts fantastic and then it mellows out a bit. It's got great moments, particularly with Lucifer and Gabriel, but it's a tad slow in the middle, and the actual plotting and the rescue mission for Ketch and Charlie was just fine. It's got a great climax, and I really like how this episode resolves the Apocalypse World plot, and it's a great lead into the finale. Nowhere near one of the best finales of the show, and the wire fight has the reputation it has for a reason, but it's a very enjoyable conclusion to season 13. Lucifer is a solid final villain for the season, and the way that everything culminates was pretty exciting. I like what it does for Jack's character. I like Lucifer finally dying. It's a little slow at times, but I do like it. Really fun season. It's basically season 12 without the baggage. The show has entered this high fantasy era of borderline superheroics, and I find it so entertaining. It's not as good as season 11, but as far as late season supernatural seasons go, it's damn good. There's a lot that I actually enjoy about this episode, but it's always confused me why this was the premiere. It doesn't feel monumental or that it moves much forward, it just kind of exists. I do love the status quo of the season already. I love seeing Sam in a leadership position, him having an entire legion of hunters is really cool, and I like searching for Dean. It's really fun and it's got a spark. The scenes with Michael himself are great. There's not much of them, and I think he doesn't do a lot, but otherwise it was a solid start. I just wish the episode had more to it. Castiel was getting his ass beat by a random demon, and it makes no sense, and it's a solid enough episode. I like a lot of it from a character perspective, but the actual plotting was just weird and kind of uninteresting. This was way stronger than episode 1. I really love a lot of the dialogue in this episode, and the character dynamics at play here are great. Nick's story has always been really good in my opinion, and I think it goes in an interesting direction here. This should have been the premiere. The Michael stuff is good and the character work is really good. It's all strong. Combine this with episode 1's opening and cut some fluff and you got a genuinely great season premiere. I like a lot of the ideas attempted in this episode, but it wasn't the greatest execution. Sam and Dean's exploits with alternate Kaya were enjoyable enough, and I like how it's tied to the Michael stuff. Jack and Cass in the bunker, however, was just fine. I like the character stuff for Jack, but the whole witch plot was just whatever. It was a solid enough time, but nothing great. Now this is a really fun time. I've always loved when it's just essentially Supernatural doing what Supernatural does, and this one is Supernatural acting as a slasher movie, and it's really, really cool. I think Dean's character stuff is handled well, and it's a nice breather and a fun one-off in this season. This is another great one-off. It's really, really underrated, I think. I like the Jinn here, and the way he got his powers amplified by Michael was really cool. I love how this episode ties into the wider storyline, and it's still really fun to see Sam as a leader. I really like this whole Hunter network. It's like a reborn Men of Letters, and I think that's really, really fun to watch. It's also really cool to see when the Djinn read Dean's mind, because I'm pretty sure he saw Michael in there. Really fun episode. Again, it's just such a damn cool episode here. The dual hunt structure is fantastic. You'd expect it to create rushed hunts and storylines, but it actually does cut out any of the filler of a normal Monster of the Week chapter. And it's got some great character stuff for Sam and alternate Charlie. I do wish they leaned into the weirdness of the Apocalypse World characters a little more. Charlie and Bobby aren't the ones that they know and people had deep personal connections with. And last episode and this one do a great job at showing that, but it would have been cool if they went more into it. I love the stuff with Dean and Jack though. Seeing them bond is fantastic, and Harper was a really fun villain of the week. I like most of what occurs in this episode, but it's paced in a frustrating way that deflates a lot of the emotion. It opens with such a dire moment, and then the episode just sort of settles into a rhythm, and it's a good rhythm, but it's not as good as I like. I also don't think Nick's plot fits here at all. I like what they're doing, but I don't think that it needed to be here, and the false cure to cure Jack was sort of whatever. I just don't like that he's basically dead at the beginning, and then just okay until the end of the episode when he's gonna die again. This episode is effectively just a repeat of last episode, which hurts both the last episode and this one. I've never understood the decision to do it like this. I think it just muddles the pacing. That being said, this one is a lot better and really fun. I especially love when the Empty sieges heaven, and it was so fun in seeing Duma as the Empty was really, really cool. When this episode works, it works damn well. It just feels a little redundant. Great episode. This one ramps up the season and is such a fun dual heist vibe at the start with trying to get the hyperbolic pulse generator, and then it's also really cool as they're trying to get the spear from Dark Kaya. I like it a lot, and the siege on Michael's base at the end was solid. Great cliffhanger and a really, really solid mid-season finale. Killer episode, man. Such a strong follow-up to the previous episode's cliffhanger, and it morphs Michael into such a cool villain. I love the fact that Dean's hidden in a nice dream world, and it's so cool watching him overpower an archangel in his mind. And I also love how Jack is slowly using his magic more and more. And then they got the last scene with Billy telling him how the only way they can stop this. Great episode. I think this episode really hones in on what makes season 14 so cool to me. It's not the flashiest season, and it's not the most bombastic and fun one, but it's so serious and downtrodden in a way that makes it feel kind of earnest and genuine to me. This episode is really, really grounded. I love that Dean takes a day to visit his mom before he goes and commits suicide by locking himself in that box, and I think the Nick stuff is woven in super well, and I just love the entire way the episode works. It's not perfect, it's a little slow at times in the middle, and Abraxas is just kind of whatever, but the character stuff here is really, really strong. I have loved this episode since I first watched it. It's somber, it's brutal, it's relentlessly depressing, and it's shot so fucking well. I love the idea of the broken prophet. I love the emotional conflict between Sam and Dean, and their final scene together is really, really good. Is it redundant? Sure, but it's season 14, right? We're gonna be going through plots again. It's delivered well, and it's shot so beautifully. Again, this is one of the most visually distinct and poignant episodes of the entire show. There's simple shots like a person sitting at a table, and it sings with character. Nick's plot is probably the weakest part of the episode, but even that is haunting and desolate. He sees his dead wife and has a chance to put her to rest if he can just reject Lucifer, but he can't. He even sees his wife and remembers when Lucifer appeared as her, and he thinks it's Lucifer. It's just really, really cool. I wish this episode was better every time I watch it. It's far from bad, it's actually fairly solid, but it's struggling in a lot of ways. I'd almost have preferred the episode to be more in line with the first 15 minutes of it, focused on Sam and Dean in Lebanon and how the town perceives them while wrangling up cursed objects. It'd be a really fun reprieve in a darker season. Unfortunately, the John stuff is just fine. It works emotionally and everyone is there and on their A game with acting, I guess, but they just do the same scene 5 times, and it was clear they only got Jeffrey D. Morgan back for a day of filming, so they spend it all in the bunker, and I don't know. I just also didn't like the way the story kicked off. I don't mind this being Dean's ultimate wish. It makes sense, but the way they execute it is baffling. John's disappearance is the catalyst for the entire show. So shouldn't him disappearing still keep time on track and just shift everything back 2 years? The apocalypse still has to happen, no? It was cool seeing badass Castiel and seeing Zachariah back, but I don't know if it justifies the hazy plotting. Usually stuff like this doesn't bother me, but it was just such an underwhelming way to execute the 300th episode. This is such a deeply layered and fascinating episode of the entire show. There's so much symbolism within it, and I love the entire fact that it tells you the ending essentially from the start. The episode is called Ouroboros after all. Jack is a cycle that never ends. He is the beginning and the end. He's God's first creation and second creation morphed into one. He is all powerful and the show finally knows it. I just love this episode structurally too. It gets attacked a lot for resolving Michael in a filler episode, but when the episode is this rich thematically, I don't think it's filler at all. It's also a deceptively plot episode. Like, I think it's cool that Michael gets freed during a one-off hunt. It's something that would actually happen, and it realistically raises the stakes of having Michael in Dean's head. I think the episode gets a little bumpy in its transition to being about Michael, and Rowena isn't a great vessel for Michael, but otherwise this is one of my favorites of the season. Oh look, another really cool episode of Supernatural's 14th season. The decision to have both the last episode and this one written by the same writer, Steve Yockey, was a really good decision. There are a lot of thematic character elements that carry over directly from that last episode, which allows for great continuity and character work, and it's also such a damn funny episode. It's the breather that this season desperately needed. I like Jack's story a lot in this episode, but the rest of it just really washed over me. It feels like it desperately wants to be something more, but it's just so generic. I guess it's cool that the monster looked neat, but I don't know. It's a big step down from how good the season's been so far. The first half is just alright, but it really builds into such a chaotic crescendo. I love Nick in this episode. It really ties this whole arc together for me, and I think it's so cool seeing him desperately want Lucifer back and even acting like Lucifer in this episode. And seeing Lucifer's form from the empty was awesome, man. And not to mention all the stuff with Jack. Dude is scaring me, dude. Great episode. I just like this one a lot. I love the way it picks up after the last one. I love the urgency of trying to find Jack throughout it, and I think Rowena is a great and fantastic character here. I really love how she's utilized in this episode, and I think more than any of her recent ones, it really shows how far she's come as a character. And I think it's just such an emotional episode. I think the Mary flashbacks are a little hit or miss, but I love the final one with Dean, and it makes them all worth it. I think a lot of people get the wrong thing from this conflict with Jack. Jack needs to be stopped. I've seen people say, oh, he's just 2 years old, and oh, he didn't know any better, but that's kind of the problem. He is a 2-year-old Archangel hybrid with no soul. He is a time bomb. The fact that he could easily be manipulated by angels in this episode proves everything Dean was saying. He was turning innocent people into pillars of salt. I love the tension of this episode, though. I love the way it brings back the Malik box, tying the entire season together, and it really weaves it into a strong and concise narrative, because one of the major issues people have with season 14 is that it feels a little jumbled, but I think this episode does everything right to narrow that narrative. This is one of my favorite finales of the entire show. Not only is it extremely thematically layered and a really fantastic inversion of the biblical story set in the episode's namesake of Mount Moriah, but I think it's a really fucking awesome meta episode that flips you on its head and flips what you expect from a supernatural finale on its head. The ending is also fantastic. God Was Never on Your Side might be Supernatural's best needle drop in all of its 14 seasons up to this point. Utterly breathtaking ending, and it sets up the final season so well. This is one of my favorite seasons, and perhaps one of the most misunderstood of the entire show. It tells the story of the fall and failure of the Winchester brothers as parents and teachers, all while giving us stories that feel fresh and yet deeply steeped in the show's decade-plus long mythology and history. There are fascinating ideas here, there are episodes that take their time to sit with ideas and characters, and there are symbolic moments and parallels that drive the season home for me. At the end of the day, your mileage will definitely vary with how much you like and appreciate Jack. I personally find him to be one of the best elements added to the show, and I find this season to be a wonderful look at him. I just really like this season. You know, it's repeating a lot of plot lines, but in a lot of ways it's redoing some plot lines that the show fumbled early on, so I can appreciate it in that regard. And it ends so damn well. Castiel gets punked by a ghost in this episode. Not a souped up ghost, just a regular ghost. This is fine, I guess. It's a huge tension deflator following season 14's finale, but I kinda always knew it would be. Still, I don't think it had to be this underwhelming. I like the idea of containing the ghost, but this episode is simply stretched too thin. It's got some really fun character moments and stuff that I really enjoy, but overall, not a huge fan. What a stupid, no good piece of shit dum-dum episode. What a doggy doo-doo pile of crap. These ghosts blow. Why are these famous ghosts essentially the big bad right now? Why are Ketch and Rowena horny? What's the point? Why are we doing anything that we're doing right now? And why the hell did Kevin go to hell? This is the dumbest and worst retcon the show ever made. There's been some bad ones, but this one pisses me off more than anything else. I know Supernatural is not a happy show, but this creates so many lore issues while also being just more torture porn for Kevin Tran, a character who did not need it. And the worst part is they framed Kevin's ending like some sort of happy nomadic ending. No, fuck off. His ending was getting to go to heaven. Why would you change that? Goofy ass show, man. Goofy ass show. Yeah, this was great. It finally felt climactic enough to be a final season. I loved Rowena's sacrifice. I think the culmination of everything was very fitting, and I even liked how Belphegor was almost a twist villain there. I also liked how Hell looked in this episode. I know we see the set once more throughout the season, but it's my favorite look of Hell in the show. Great finale to a really messy opening arc. This one's really anchored by the final scene between Sam and Dean. It was a genuinely fantastic performance from Jared, and I love the dialogue between the two, and the music and everything just sells what they're feeling right now. Sam's comment about maybe he'll feel better in the morning just made me feel so sorry for him. The main plot's great too. The vampire kid is really interesting, and I like the stuff with Chuck and Becky. I was just driven by that ending. I love close scenes with Sam and Dean like that. This one almost acts as a second premiere for season 15, and it's pretty damn great. I can see how the first chunk feels boring, but there's a lot of clear teases that hints at the conflict that's going on, and I love the reveal at the end that the whole episode was written by Chuck. It just executes itself very well. Lilith is whatever. I think she's fun, but I always remember that she's barely used in the season, and it kind of bums me out. It's a great time, though. It's got that snappy Steve Yockey flair that I love from his episodes, and it was a great swan song for him. This was his last episode he wrote for the show. I like this one a lot. I love getting to see Eileen back. I think the witch plot is really fun, and it's so nice to have a Sam episode, too. Just a straight up Sam episode. I also like the discussion at the end with Sam and Dean. I think it's cool meta commentary. Sam is convinced that not everything was God, that they have autonomy even if he's pulling some strings, and Dean, however, has no clue what's God and what isn't, and he hates that. I think it's similar to fans' reactions to the writing change. Do you believe Chuck is making them do everything, or do you think he lays the maze and they race through it? It's really fascinating. Why do I bother? What's the point? This is such a pointless episode. The B-plot is the only thing keeping it from being outright bad. I actually like some forward plot momentum, but even then that plot wasn't that good, so what are we doing? Pretty great mid-season finale. It's a little rushed in places, but it ramps up the main story in a really cool way that manages to make a lot of sense. It's cool to see Rowena as Queen of Hell too, and it's definitely more of a part one, but I think it was a great part one, and it was nice to see our main Michael back and get to see Adam again after 10 seasons. Incredible episode. This is everything a final season should feel like. I love all of the future stuff that Sam sees. God taking Sam on a ride through the apocalyptic future is such a cool ass concept. I also love going back to Purgatory and seeing Leviathans again. You know, I wish Supernatural had a final season like Arrow season 8. Maybe not the whole season, but it'd have been cool to see some celebratory episodes where each season got a tribute. Like this one they go to Purgatory, maybe in another one they do a new trial of hell or something like that. I don't know. It's good shit though. It's tense, it's really well done, and it's a natural progression of the main plot. Every time this season delivers something great, it just flounders. It drops something not good. This episode genuinely pisses me off. It threatens to upend the entire show, and it's only mildly funny in doing so. It'd be outright bad, but there's a few gags that I like that keep it at the score that I have it at, and I think Garth is enjoyable. I just hate how the show even flirted with the idea of plot armor. It's funny as first, but then they start taking away their fighting skills, and nah, I can't stand that idea. It's really funny how much better this episode treats the current conflict. It's made abundantly clear that whatever's going on is just a curse from God, and I like that because, again, I hated the plot armor excuse. This one's so fun. Lots of great moments and a fantastic brother episode for Sam and Dean, and the reunion with Jack at the end was really great. This one's pretty fun. I've never given it much credit in the past, but I like a lot of the character dynamics going on, and it's an entertaining episode. I think it's cool to see the bad place again from season 13, and a really cool tie-up with the storyline with Kaya. It's a little too slow at times, but it's a meaningful episode, I think, and it's a really cool sleeper start to the End of Universes arc. I like that they go to the bad place and watch it get wiped out in real time. It's a cool episode. Man, I felt like I was watching an episode of The Flash in its later years with how much this episode crams in and throws at you. Sam and Dean go to hell, Castiel kills himself and visits the MD for intel, Sam and Dean meet their alternate universe doppelgangers, Jack gets his soul back, but it somehow all works. There's huge logic leaps and character decisions, but it's all for service of this insanely fun episode that feels climactic and like we're in the final season just doing things. It was a really, really fun episode. I will never find it in my power to hate this episode. This one's pure fun. I get that it's placed poorly, and I agree this would have been way better as episode 4 or 5 instead of episode 14 of 20, but this is still super fun. I think the pacing of the season has always been off though. It's the one big problem I have with it. We ramp up and then immediately slow back down at the end of the day. And I genuinely been fine if episodes 10 through 14 were straight filler and then episodes 15 through 20 were plot. Anyways, I'm rambling now. Fun episode. I like Mrs. Butters. I guess I just don't get this one. I don't really understand why they decided to go this route with the story. Was tracking down Amara not enough plot for a full episode? Surely you can milk more out of this plot. What's the deal with the Castiel and Jack stuff? It's not that this episode is bad. I'm pretty positive on it overall. I just don't get the thinking. If this was more Amara heavy with the Castiel and Jack case as a B-plot, I'd appreciate it a lot more, but it isn't. This is a case of the week episode with some myth arc stuff seeded through, and that's weird for episode 15 of 20 in your final season. I'm going to be harsh with this one, and I'm going to be harsh with it for a few reasons. This is the final Monster of the Week episode of the entire show. This show was built off the back of this format. Some of the greatest episodes of this show are born of this format. For the final one-off of your show to be this so stupid and horribly mediocre and uninteresting is insulting. This show is capable of so much more and has proved so in this season, and retreated to an episode with my least favorite tropes. Bad and pointless Sam and Dean flashback, Sam and Dean helping an old friend that we've never seen before. This has been done twice this season, and it's just fucking boring, and they even have to throw in bad Sam and Dean drama at the end of it. The second thing is this is episode 16 of 20. This hurts because there are only 4 episodes left of the show, and the finale is essentially an epilogue, so there's actually only 3 episodes left. And they actually make the fucking plot resolution worse because they waste an episode. Supernatural. It does not make it okay to have Billy show up and ask Dean why he's working a boring case. I want to know too. I get this season is meta, but this is one of those times where it doesn't work. Addressing the problem doesn't make it okay. Oh, and yeah, of course they end off the episode with that bad Sam and Dean drama that I talked about. This episode fucking blows. Okay, now we're back from me feeling like an animation YouTuber with how pissed off I got. This is one of my favorite episodes of the show. I really love the entire episode. I love how it's just another game from Chuck. I adore the climax. The format is incredible too. I think telling it in the segmented format leads to the climax that really, really works. So many pieces of this episode just work together in unity, and they deliver a high-octane boost of tension that the season desperately needed. Where was this the entire time? Masterful tension, man. This is a fantastic episode. Every time I watch it, I'm just so enthralled. Dean versus Death is so cool, and the twist that it's not Death killing everyone, but God is just really, really awesome every time. And of course, there's the Castiel scene. Regardless of if you ship Destiel or not, this is such a fantastic goodbye for the character, and one of my favorite scenes of the entire show. I think it's a truly beautiful send-off for such an important character. I love this one. I don't know what it is, but for the first time since this episode aired, I actually kind of enjoyed it. I've never hated this episode, I've always liked what happens, but I've always felt that it's such a mess, and it definitely is a mess. But I think it's a really fun and fitting season finale for the whole story, actually. When you go a little deeper beyond the plot writing and plot holes and continuity errors, which are annoying, I think it's really, really cool to see Sam and Dean being left alone on an empty planet. These two men have long saved people and said it's what drives them, so now there's nobody to save. And I love how they beat Chuck by having them play his own game. Chuck has, used all these traps and manipulations against them, and now they get to prey on his ego and manipulate events to ensure his downfall. It was explained in a pretty expository scene, but I love how it all plays out. It's a fantastic inversion. And then Jack becoming the new god was really, really cool. This one works, you know? It's got a rush script. Michael and Lucifer stuff is hilariously flat at points, but this was a COVID episode, and I think a better fight scene and better implementation of those guys could have happened if this wasn't filmed during COVID. As is, I like this episode, and I think it does enough right. It was a good finale for the season. I still remember the first night that I watched this episode, and I just teared up when Dean died, and I sobbed my eyes out when he went to heaven, and I kept sobbing as I watched Sam live out his life. It doesn't quite hit me as emotionally nowadays, but this is still a really good ending to the show. I see why people don't like it, but I feel this is the natural ending and one that works for both characters. My only major complaint is that it just feels so subdued. For some that's a plus, but I'd like to see more. Spend less time on the stupid vampire case, show us more of Sam's life. I'd love to see Eileen back and confirm it's her. And I'd also just like a better wig for Jared at the end. It's truly terrible. I don't know what they were thinking. And then they play the dual Carry On Wayward Son songs, and I don't know. It's fine. I like it. It's an emotional enough ending, but it really could have been better. It reminds me of the 300th episode in a lot of ways. It's definitely far from the worst series finale that everyone says it is, and it's not even a terrible series finale for the show, but it's not the best. It's safe, it works, and it doesn't ruin the show. It's a good ending. It's not the best final season the show could have had, and it's not even a great season, really. It's too bumpy, the plot starts and stops with very poor momentum at times, but I enjoyed the ride at the end of the day. Nothing was going to compare to season 5, and once I finally accepted season 15 for what it was, I'm content. I enjoyed my time here. Very, very rushed and fluffy, but I like it. And that was Supernatural. 15 seasons, 327 episodes, and 20 years of the family business. I've loved the show since I first saw it, and I'll probably continue to watch it for the rest of my life. I just recently rewatched the entire show, and it solidified the whole thing as my favorite show on TV. I love discussing the way the show does storylines and character moments and plot arcs. It's been an absolute joy and honor to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Supernatural this way, and I couldn't have done it alone. I want to give a special shout out to my entire team, my audio technician Jones, and my 2 editors of Aiden of Blue Couch Productions, who helped put together several of the Winchester Week videos, and of course, the one who helped to edit this video, Denver of Carrionite. All their channels will be linked in the description below this video. I couldn't do any of those without them. They were instrumental in every capacity. And thank all of you for celebrating the 20th anniversary of Supernatural with me. Through all the highs and lows of this show, I truly do love it with all of my heart. It's my favorite show ever, like I said, and I'm so glad that I've been able to create content that shares the love and have found a group that loves what I put out and loves the show just as much as me. I invite you all to discuss in the comments your favorite episodes, seasons, arcs, characters. If there's anything you wish I touched on, any moment I left out, let me know. And this isn't it for Supernatural content. Far from it. I've got big things planned. Big, big things. Happy birthday, Supernatural.
Oh yeah. So that's basically how Supernatural ended.